Drew and Baylor complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
If you're going to war and I'm coaching, I'm taking these guys.
Baylor, kings of college basketball, #1 in the land, and the trophy is coming to Waco.
Baylor, one of the great turnarounds in college athletics history, national champions in year 18 for Scott Drew.
Our fans that have been with us for the lean years, the good years, and our administration, President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, they all deserve this. The city of Waco deserves this. Hey, Texas, we got a national championship too. The state deserves it.
Did I stutter?
He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Robert Griffin III, RG3!
Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Langoliers, base hit to center, and the Baylor Bears win their first Big 12 tournament championship.
Their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yep, just ready for OU.
You can't handle the truth.
Here's Drake Toll.
And welcome in to the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Today, Baylor baseball in the Big 12 Championship Tournament squaring off right now against Texas Tech. We've got live updates from that. I don't know if you've checked the score or checked it out for Baylor baseball today, but it was Tech early on getting out ahead of the Baylor Bears 2-0 with bases loaded in the first for Cam Cayley. Cayley ended up walking in a run to make it 3-0. Tech went up early after that. They put up another 2-spot in the second, a couple more in the third. There was a 1-run home run in the second, make it 4-0. A 2-run home run in the third, and it has been all Tech since then. Baylor is cooking a little bit more than they have now with a run just across, runners on the corner. It's the top of the sixth. Baylor is currently down 8-1, but a shot to add a couple more runs here, and they need quite a few. One of the notes on this Baylor baseball team, call us 254-339-1122. We're talking primarily baseball today. Phone line is open. Text line is open as well, 254-339-1122. I'm looking at Baylor 1, Texas Tech 8. I'll give you this nugget of good news that bodes well for Baylor in this game. It didn't start well. Cam Cayley, the freshman on the mound, we talked about it yesterday. What would he be able to do against Tech? And when you're in the baseball tournament format in Oklahoma City, you've got to use your pitchers in a really unique way. You got to use your team in a unique way because your guys are tired. Again, it's 8-1 Texas Tech right now. Baylor runners on first and third in the top of the sixth, just one out as it stands. But Baylor got Cam Cayley in there, the freshman, and what can you do when things just don't really go your way against the number 5 team in the country, the number 3 team in the Big 12? Yes, you got a road win against them, but you're asking Cam Cayley, again, a freshman who has not seen this caliber of competition at this level yet, who is supposed to go out there and start. Antonio Valdez, the 5-hole is up for Baylor right now. Cayley goes out there, things don't go his way, he walks a few batters, you got to go into your bullpen quick, and the worst part about this, I do have good news for you, but the worst part about this right now is the fact that Baylor is using a whole lot out of their batter. They're using a lot out of their bullpen that they don't want to. When you're in this tournament format, the A1 thing that you want to do is keep your guys healthy, keep your guys rested, and have them ready to rock and roll for the end of the tournament and into the postseason. Right now, Baylor's used quite a few of their guys out of the pen, and Antonio Valdez goes down swinging. 2 outs now, runners on the corners, Baylor trailing by 7 in the top of the 6th. The good news, Baylor is prone to late inning comebacks. Look at West Virginia, the first game of the West Virginia series. Baylor has been there before where they've struggled early on in a game, not to the extent necessarily of 8-0, but it doesn't mean that Baylor's completely down and out. I know 8-1 is a daunting score, but even with one hit right here, Baylor could make some noise and make a splash, possibly going down the stretch in this game. As the next batter's up, again, runners in the corners, 2 outs. Bears trailing it by 7 right now in the first round. Double elimination here in the Big 12 tournament. So say that Baylor does end up falling here in round 1 against Texas Tech. They'll move on to play at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning against the loser of TCU and Kansas State. So the season's not done. Even if Baylor maybe misses the postseason with a couple of losses in Oklahoma City, they still have a shot to play their way back up through the bracket tomorrow against either TCU or Kansas State. You want to win here, but if you can't, you're not dead in the water yet, and Baylor needs at least a win coming up in this tournament to be able to move forward in the national tournament, make the NCAA postseason. And a win against Texas Tech would be a good jump start to that, but it doesn't look right now like Baylor's got too much of a chance. Do know Baylor scores the bulk of their runs in either the first inning or the 8th inning. So an 8th inning comeback is something Baylor is privy to, and it's not impossible we see that again from them today, or at least a bit of a splash to stay competitive in this one. Tech, the number 5 team in the country, number 3 in the Big 12. Yeah, Baylor won against them on the road, but man, Tech's just that good this season. Not a surprise that Baylor's down to them, but definitely surprising to me at the margin right now that you have 7 runs separating Texas Tech and Baylor in the 6th inning, and it was 8 runs originally as Texas Tech jumped out quickly from the start. Elsewhere across Baylor athletics, we're talking today, you got men's tennis still in action. Right now, Adrian Boitan is in the Elite 8 in Orlando, Florida. His 7th match in the span of 7 days. So Adrian Boitan is going to meet, I think it's one of the San Diego guys or Oklahoma State, something like that. North Carolina. He's got a guy from North Carolina. And then the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law will take on another pairing from North Carolina. Actually, the same singles player that's playing against Boitan is playing in doubles against Connie and Sven. Those guys have a match at 5 o'clock. Adrian Boitan, first serve was 11 a.m. Central Time for him, so he is off and running in the Elite 8 of the Men's Tennis Championship. Texas Tech gets a 3rd out at the top of the 6th inning. It's Tech 8, Baylor 1. To the bottom of the 6th we go, Bears trailing by 7. So baseball, tennis, men's tennis in the Elite 8 right now. And then on top of that, women's golf wrapped up here recently. Men's tennis overall team wrapped up in the championship last Saturday. Track and field, both the men and the women have 12 athletes right now in the Western Regional of the NCAAs. That's taking place in College Station. Right now, they start competition at 3, but they're all there at the facility getting ready at Texas A&M. We'll be joined by Michael Ford later on the show, an assistant track coach, to talk about what their outlook is as they compete Wednesday, today, through Sunday. Call line is open, 254-339-1122. Give us your thoughts on this Baylor baseball game. We haven't heard from Stephen from Virginia or T-Rex for a while. I'm getting worried about those guys. I'm getting really worried about those guys. This may be a first, like the longest stretch we've gone without them.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Please call in. Please call in and let us know you're okay. Although I see Stephen from Virginia on Twitter or Instagram is talking about he's been losing some weight.
80 pounds, 40 pounds.
He's been losing some weight and putting some work in. So
said he went from like 220 to 180.
That's impressive.
The guy's doing it.
He's got to call in and update us.
Gains. We got one guy on the phone line here. Looks like Baylor Bigfoot is calling about baseball. Baylor Bigfoot, what's going on?
Hey guys, Stephen from Virginia. Sorry. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Baylor Bigfoot. Double B's on the phone. First time caller, long time listener.
Oh, that
my double R burgers, guys.
You had me there for a second.
Get the Bigfoot special. Get the Bigfoot special.
He literally will not stop.
Well, Baylor Bigfoot, Baylor baseball is down 8-1 right now. What an intro right there. You caught us. But yeah, it's looking bleak. What is your assessment of this baseball game so far?
Well, guys, I'm not very much of a baseball fan. Although I did hit like 40 home runs in high school and was recruited by all the big schools, Arkansas, Alabama, Texas, Baylor. But I chose to play football.
Alabama baseball? You were recruited by Alabama baseball? Yeah, they're so mediocre.
You never heard of it?
I haven't, no. But maybe you could have put them on the map.
Yeah, that's why they recruited me. They wanted me to come play quarterback and center field for them. But I chose not to because I'm not a hater. And I can't stand Alabama. Not the state. The state's great. Just the coaching staff. It was horrible.
Alabama baseball?
Anyway, guys. Yeah, baseball.
Wow. Well, Bigfoot, I tell you what, Baylor baseball could use a little something. Maybe some of those 40 home runs today against Texas Tech. Have you had a chance to watch any of the game? I mean, I want your thoughts here.
Well, I think having that Cam guy come pitch and keeping him in for so long was kind of a mistake. We saw early he was rattled. But not as rattled as my losers and haters who can't stand me whenever I won the Heisman back in 2011. Oh, sorry. wrong caller.
Wow. What did we just break on the show today?
I didn't process that.
Yeah, that was a lot. Baylor Bigfoot, anything else you got for us today?
Guys, I think Bigfoot Jr. Could use some help. Drake, Bigfoot Jr. has been talking to some girls, and we need your advice on how to deal with it.
Oh, my gosh.
You just got to be very clear and forward, you know? You got to be very clear and forward with exactly how you're feeling.
Well, thanks. I didn't know that. I've always been mysterious, as you know.
Right. Living in the trees and all. Hey, Baylor Bigfoot, I got a Bear Games question of the day for you today. This one comes from...
I love Bear Games.
I know. This one comes from a very interesting thought that I had yesterday. Giving the following scenario, which animals of the forest do you enlist the help of? You're in the woods on a camping trip to simply get away. You somehow found yourself eye to eye with a grizzly bear and an aggressive elk. They've teamed up to destroy you. To your right, there's a mountain lion and a wild boar, sworn enemies of the bear and the elk. To your left, there's a wolf, a crossbow, and a western pond turtle. Quick thinking, which duo, to your left or right, do you befriend to survive and why? Hurry, time is running out.
Right, everybody.
I'm going left. Guys, I've had that exact scenario happen to me many a time. And when I went to the left and went with the mountain lion and the boar, I was successful.
Wow.
And there were some people who were with me who went to the right, and they were eaten, sadly.
The mountain lion and the boar. Baylor Bigfoot is locking it in. Hey, Bigfoot, thanks for your call today.
All right, thanks, guys. Really glad I could call into the #1 radio show on SicEm365 Radio. Listen, guys. I love SicEm365 Radio, and I think it's the greatest invention since sliced bread. I am a looking. Double B's. Oh!
Devil Bees is the silliest goose today, bringing his thoughts to the show on your Wednesday. We're looking at Baylor baseball today. I do want to note, Bigfoot talked about it being a mistake. They left Cam Cayley in as long as they have, but I'm looking up and down right now at what Cam Cayley's body of work this season. And we talked about how it's not great. I mean, Cayley started slow this year. The freshman really wasn't that solid. Right now, if you look at his ERA and his win-loss, coming into this game, he was 2-1 with a 4.15 ERA. That doesn't look great. He's a freshman. He's not too... I mean, there's nothing that you look at him and you think, okay, like this is daunting. You don't want to face this guy. Cayley, though, since a tough start, after a slow start to his career, he's a true freshman, become a reliable piece on the mound for the Bears. Over his last 8 appearances, not including today, Cayley has impressed with a 1.40 ERA, a 1.40 ERA in 25.2 innings. That's a larger body of work. That is 3 complete baseball games-ish and a 1.40 ERA. Most recently, he took the role of series opening starter and won against Oklahoma last Thursday night. 5 innings and allowed 3 runs in that one. Cam Cayley has been solid for the Bears recently and was not a bad start today against Texas Tech. You're going to go Hayden Kettler tomorrow. You're likely missing Blake Helton. We already know that you're going to be missing your bell cow, Tyler Thomas, for the entirety of this tournament. So you got to go somewhere else with somebody else. Cam Cayley was the best option to start today. The problem was not keeping Cayley in too long. Steve Rodriguez and Coach John Strauss are playing this very strategically right now in the postseason, because you get into this tournament and you can't make a mistake when it comes to overthrowing your staff too early. You're in the Big 12 championship tournament for a week. You want to keep your guys rested, healthy. You want to know that you've got, all right, hey, say we throw Cayley today. We don't want to use up 5 pitchers, because if you go back out and you do it again tomorrow, you're out of guys and there's no way to advance in the tournament. To strategically play the tournament, you've got to use your pitchers sparingly, and that's what Steve Rodriguez and Coach John Strauss have tried to do with Cam Cayley. He went as long as he could, but that was it. I mean, I'm looking at the stat line right now across the span of this game, and you got Baylor down 8-1 still. We're now in the bottom of the 6th, 2-1 out, and Tech's got a runner on. 4 hits for the Bears, 9 for Texas Tech, and you got 9 players left on base for Texas Tech, just 5 for Baylor. It seems to me as if Texas Tech should have, and the announcers were talking about this earlier, should have a couple more runs tacked up on the board right now, and they're probably disappointed they don't have an 11 or a 12 spot going right now. I would be if you're Texas Tech. I'm looking individual stats right now, pitching for Tech. We talked about yesterday how they were going to start somebody that I really wasn't worried about. I mean, you got Montgomery out there. Mason Montgomery against Baylor in his first time out really struggled. Today, however, his final stat line, he ended up facing 18 batters, 17 logged at-bats, threw 88 pitches, went 5 innings, no earned runs, 2 hits. He struck out 11 in those 5 innings, hit 1 batter. So far, or through this game, he's now out. Montgomery was solid. Bad against Baylor the first time around, but this time he caught his mojo, and that's what helped Texas Tech to the win. On the Baylor side, starting pitching for them, Cam Cayley goes out. He only got to face 9 batters through 48 pitches. Cayley goes right now 48 pitches, 27 ERA for the game, allowed 3 earned runs, and didn't log an out in the second inning. So 1 official inning pitch allowed that home run in the second. They pulled Cam Cayley. They go from Cayley to Chandler Freeman. Chandler Freeman faces 12 batters, goes 2 innings and allows 3 runs. Then you go Hamilton Oliver. Hamilton Oliver ends up only going an inning. Oliver goes 6 batters faced, 2 earned runs. Now they've landed on Adam Muirhead. Adam has been the best pitcher by far for Baylor so far today. He's gone 1 2/3 now. He's got 2 outs here and a runner on, 34 pitches in the bottom of the 6th inning. He's 35 pitches in, no earned runs, just 1 walk, 1 strikeout in 1 2/3 for Adam Muirhead. So that, I have not heard of Adam Muirhead pitching yet this season. He's only logged now, with today included. Before today, he had just 1 official inning on his book. No earned runs yet, so that's pretty solid. But 3 walks, 3 strikeouts through now 3 2/3 in his career when you total together what he's done today in comparison to what he did earlier this season. So Muirhead on the mound now for Baylor. The Bears trailing 8-1. We talked about it, though. If Baylor's going to put up runs, where they like to do so is the 8th inning. Their best spot outside of the opening inning, the first inning, is the 8th inning. That's where they've really made their bed this season on the comebacks. It's not like Baylor to be out of a game late, and you didn't see against Texas Tech in that opening series. I mean, I'm looking at the scores right now from what Baylor was able to do against Tech, and you would think coming into today, all right, I feel confident Baylor can at least make this thing close even if they do lose. 12-4, they won game 1. 1-4, 4-1. They lost game 2 against number 5 Texas Tech, and they won 13-3 on the Sunday game. So Tech has seen Baylor 3 times so far, vice versa. The Bears didn't allow more than 4 runs in a single one of those games, and within 3 innings of today's game in Bricktown, Texas Tech had already put up a 4 spot. Looking at that as well, you combine those, 11 runs total that Tech scored across 3 games against Baylor. They now have 8 today. So again, what you're factoring in with this Big 12 baseball tournament and Baylor likely losing today is the fact that you've got to save as many arms as possible. Moving forward, you're going to need those guys to make a run on the tournament, because if Baylor loses to Texas Tech today, and they play TCU. If they lose to Texas Tech and they lose to TCU, I still think Baylor's got a good shot at getting into the postseason tournament. Their RPI is not going to change very drastically if you lose to 2 top 5 teams. However, if Baylor plays today against Texas Tech, loses, it looks like runner on second here, pitch 2-2. Baylor loses today, you're looking at a situation in which you play Kansas State, you got to win. If you lose to Texas Tech and then you lose to Kansas State, especially coming off series losses to Oklahoma State, who will not make it in, and Oklahoma, who will likely not make it in, you're staring down the barrel of not going to the postseason. Your RPI right now is 40th in the country. 40 is about as on the line as you can get. According to D1 Baseball, Baylor is the 64th best team in the nation when it comes to chances to get in the NCAA tournament. 64 teams make the NCAA tournament. So you're looking in a situation where Baylor needs to, not would like, but needs to win a game in this tournament to be able to securely, squarely be in the postseason. That said, even if they beat Kansas State, there is no guarantee that Baylor moves on and moves on to the postseason with a loss in their third game of this tournament. Looking at the bracket right now and where Baylor stands, if they lose this one, they play tomorrow, which again, it's what's likely going to happen. Bottom of the 6, Baylor trailing it still right now at a score of 8-1. Tech with 2 on, 2 out. Baylor's pitcher, we just talked about Muirhead, that's on the mound. But I'm looking right now at the Big 12 tournament schedule and what Baylor has a shot to do if they win this, playing tomorrow at 4 p.m. against likely TCU. Losing, likely scenario, Baylor will drop down to Game 6 of the Big 12 Championship Tournament. That takes place at 9 a.m. tomorrow on ESPNU. So they'll go from playing the 9 a.m. slot today to playing again the 9 a.m. slot tomorrow. That will likely be against Kansas State. TCU and Kansas State square off this afternoon at 12:30. So immediately following this one, you go from Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Kansas State. That's the 7, K-State against the 2, TCU. Number 1, Texas. Number 8, West Virginia. That is at 4 o'clock today on the Big 12 now. And then number 4, Oklahoma State. Number 5, Oklahoma. That on Big 12 now as well at 7:30. Full slate of baseball across the Big 12 today, and you're looking at Baylor, Texas Tech right now. The loser of that one, 9 o'clock tomorrow. We'll play the winner of that game will play the loser of Game 8, which will likely be either Texas Tech or TCU. So again, you get to Texas Tech, you lose that game, you're going to have to beat Kansas State when you most likely play Kansas State. Following that game, you're going to get either Texas Tech or TCU again, and you're going to need to win one of those as well. Give you a tennis update right now. You got Adrian Boitan, who is underway against the 10-time All-American, and he is up 2-1 in games right now. First set, they're in the middle of the first set. He is. There's a live video feed. You can go to Baylor Men's Tennis on Twitter. Check out the live video feed for Adrian Boitan, who is competing today in the national championships of tennis. He's in the Elite 8, trying to advance to the Final Four. He's the first Baylor athlete, for the first time since 2003, actually, that Baylor has a doubles pairing and a singles player both into the Elite 8 of the NCAA tournament. Looking elsewhere on our Impact Health Labs caller line and our Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, Scotty B. the Baylor King says, I asked baseball expert Kendall Rogers if Baylor baseball goes 0-2 in the Big 12 tournament, will they not make the NCAA tournament? He said yes, they will not make the NCAA tournament. So this means they need to win at least one game, which tomorrow it will be either TCU or Kansas State. It is double elimination for Baylor, whereas it was single elimination last night for number 8 West Virginia and number 9 Kansas. That game, West Virginia 8, Kansas 7. The Jayhawks lost for the first time when leading after 8 innings in a comeback win from West Virginia, walk-off in the 9th. So that we have that right there from Scotty B. the Baylor King with Kendall Rogers. Talking about Baylor baseball. I'm telling you, Baylor baseball is shorthanded pitching staff-wise, and that is going to be tough moving forward in this tournament. To be able to advance, you need strong pitching. You got to have guys that haven't played a lot that step up and play in big-time roles. Today, you're looking at Hamilton Oliver you're throwing out there and hoping that you can get those guys together, put together in the bullpen to really bolster Baylor when the starting pitching in Cam Cayley struggles. And just nothing doing so far today. 2 on for Tech still. They've got 2 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. Baylor down 8-1. We'll be joined later in the show. We'll be joined right here at 11:30 by national baseball analysts who typically on ESPN, Mike Rooney. Mike Rooney does the, you ever watch the ESPN Bases Loaded in the postseason? Mike Rooney's a big staple on that. He joins us at 11:30. Michael Ford, Baylor assistant track coach, will join at noon. Baylor baseball breakdown at 12:30 during the postgame. We'll give our assessment, open up the call lines to you so you can bring us your thoughts on Baylor's game against Texas Tech at 12:30. At 1 o'clock, Pat Combs joins the show, Baylor baseball announcer. He's on the radio right now. And then celebrity birthdays, Jeff Haxton at 1:30. We're going to get those guys on as well, a guest line. And today's show, first hour, SicEm365's Up Tempo, is brought to you by Banson Business Services, owned by Baylor grad and SicEm365 premium member Jonathan Green. Banson Business Services offers a full suite of business support and financial services. Banson specializes in bookkeeping, payroll, outsourced CFO services, and consulting. They can even help you with your taxes. Their business helps you run your business. Visit SicEm365.com/Banson, BANCIN, for more information. So we got a, boy howdy, Tech's going to put up another run right there on an air pitch. Baylor trying to get out of this thing right now. Looking the pitch. I'm sorry, it was not even I thought it was an air pitch. That was a hit into the infield, and Tech's going to put up another run on it. Baylor just couldn't corral it in time to get an out, and it is now 9-1 Texas Tech on top of Baylor. Not sure when the mercy rule comes into play, but hopefully it doesn't have to, moving down the stretch of this game. When we come back, we're joined by national baseball analyst of ESPN, Mike Rooney. Don't go anywhere. I'm Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, Marquise Cooley. When we come back, Mike Rooney joins the show. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boyton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boyton won via his third three-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boyton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Blugberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 baseball championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 $25 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts. Julia Rob.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Baylor baseball game day right now. The Bears taking on Texas Tech. That game up at the top of the seventh. Baylor trailing 9-1 in Bricktown against the Red Raiders, the same team they took 2 of 3 from in Lubbock, Texas earlier this season. Joining us on the show now, Coach Mike Rooney. Mike, Baylor, I want to call you a Baylor baseball analyst because that's the angle we're taking today, but a national baseball analyst joining us to talk some Big 12 action. Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, you got it, Drake. Happy to be here.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, baseball season in full swing. Like we were talking off the air, you know, Baylor basketball has been the talk of the town for so long, and now we're getting right into the thick of things with baseball. And if there's one team that's on the bubble, D1Baseball.com, that's Baylor at 64th in the nation right now out of the 64 teams that are going to make it in. If one team's on the bubble, it's Baylor. And, you know, I'm sure you can attest, that makes games like today even more crucial.
Yeah, and obviously they're off to a tough start against Texas Tech, who is really, really good and really offensive. So, I think Steve Rodriguez right now and John Strauss, they have to start thinking about the rest of the tournament. And, I think going, first of all, being a bubble team, to your point, is not comfortable this time of year. And then you start getting upsets in conference tournaments, like East Carolina got upset yesterday. And, that bubble gets smaller and smaller. But I think for Baylor, going 0-2 in this tournament would really be problematic. So we'll see. It's not just what you do; it's what other teams do at times. But it's a shame because they're clearly Baylor's pretty injured right now, and just not a good time to be suffering some injuries.
Mike, looking at that, Baylor's ace, Tyler Thomas, will be out for the entirety of the tournament. And then Blake Helton, who's really been one of your Saturday guy this season in Big 12 play, likely will not play as well. How crucial is it to have a solid bullpen and even fresh starters coming into a tournament, especially where it's so key for Baylor to win a couple of these games?
Well, yeah, and I think it's for Baylor, a lot of times in these conference tournaments where you're just going to play so many games in a condensed schedule, Baylor's not necessarily built for that. Baylor's built to win weekends. It's a good position player group, but they're more built to win low scoring games. I think sometimes the Texas Techs of the world are at an advantage in a tournament like this where they can just kind of out offense people. So, and now you take Baylor's formula, which is pitching defense and team offense, and now you start to subtract you take any team in the country, you lose your Friday and your Saturday guy for a weekend. And, you're a bear on roller skates at this point, no pun intended. So, yeah, I think for Baylor, the injuries this weekend, they come into the weekend kind of teetering on the bubble. And to not be without some of your key arms, it's certainly a huge challenge.
Mike, on top of that, you're looking at a Baylor team that's facing off against Big 12 opponents that seem to get hot at the right time. There was a stretch there where the Bears won 4 straight weekend series, and then you go into Oklahoma State and you fall on that, and you fall against Oklahoma, 2 teams that looked really good when they needed to look good to try to bolster their postseason resumes as well. Just the full scope of the Big 12 this season, what is your assessment of the conference as a whole?
Yeah, really, really good year for the Big 12. I think you've got 3 bona fide Omaha teams in Texas TCU and Texas Tech, and teams that could win the whole thing. And, I get it that Texas Tech they've suffered a ton of injuries, but if there's anybody that can withstand those injuries, it's the depth of Texas Tech. Texas and TCU, and TCU has struggled down the stretch, but those are still really elite teams. Oklahoma State's a very interesting team. I saw them earlier in the year. I think they are very much an Omaha caliber team, but they have suffered a bunch of injuries on the mound. There are rumors that Oklahoma State's getting healthier, so they become very viable. I think Oklahoma and Baylor are the next 2 clubs, and Kansas State was a team that people liked a lot in the preseason. They just never really got clicked in. They do have an ace in Jordan Wick. So, I think the short answer to your question, Drake, is it's been a banner year for the Big 12. It's the number 2 RPI conference in the country, and I think that really clearly depicts how strong the league is.
Mike, when you're talking RPI, which is where we've been looking pretty heavily right now, because that's something the committee weighs a lot, as I know, in the postseason, you got Baylor, who will likely fall today to Texas Tech. Let's say they lose again tomorrow to TCU. When you're dropping a couple games to some top 5, top 10 caliber teams, how much of a swing does that have on your RPI? And is maybe that the best case scenario for Baylor if they're going to lose a couple in this tournament?
Well, I think, obviously going 0-2 in the tournament it's not a great situation for a couple of reasons. One is the committee is in a room right now locked in watching games, right? And so you don't want, if I'm Baylor, I don't love the fact that they're seeing your team kind of get overwhelmed by Texas Tech. So that's not great. But I would say Texas Tech is the number 8 RPI in the country. So I don't think it's going to crush your RPI in that regard. I think for Baylor, winning tomorrow's game would be just critical, just to show a positive sign of life there. Because really what their resume is boiling down to right now, an RPI of 40 is very bubblish, but you do have a series win at Texas Tech. That is really loud. That is a really tough place to play. And you're in, you've got a chance to be the 5th place team in the number 2 league in the country. So I think those are 2 data points that are very helpful. An 0-2 performance in the tournament where you were already kind of bubble in, obviously that's, it's not going to make for a great night's sleep on Sunday night before the selection show.
Mike, when you get into these tournaments, and I know you've seen it kind of from the coaching ranks in a different way, this Baylor team, I know there are a lot of squads, a lot of groups across the country that are approaching their conference tournaments differently. I mean, you look at a team like Arkansas, they could go 0-2 in Hoover and still be likely the number 1 overall team in the country, whereas Baylor needs to pick up a win or 2 and maybe a few to help build their resume postseason-wise. If you are Steve Rodriguez and John Strauss, what is your emphasis that you put on this tournament, especially in comparison to teams that might be overlooking a field when they're trying to get ready for that big-time postseason play?
Well, I think it's a great question. I don't think any coach would want to go into a tournament and say, hey, we can't win this tournament. But I do think realistically, the chances of Baylor winning the Big 12 tournament, which is a very long tournament, by the way, it's a true regional with a championship game on Sunday. So, I mean, you're talking about having to win 3, 4, 5, or 6 games, depending on where you end up, if you end up in the losers bracket. So I think for Baylor, without Thomas and without Helton, I don't know how, even with Thomas and Helton, I don't know how, for any team to win 5 or 6 games in a week is really challenging. But I do think today, you're kind of in a blowout game with Texas Tech, and I think they've done this. You really do save your key relievers for tomorrow because tomorrow becomes the most important game on the schedule. It's the only game that you know that you have. So I think the short answer to your question is tomorrow you will see Baylor really air out the bullpen. Your best arms, you will go to your Luke Boyds. Those guys will pitch tomorrow because unless Baylor just blows out whoever they're going to end up playing, I think tomorrow becomes must win.
Mike, as you march through postseason play, we're looking at a lot of teams across the Big 12 that have those big bats, but then like Wicks at Kansas State, even Texas Tech has a few of those arms that throw really well. In the game of college baseball today, when you're looking down the barrel of a tournament like this, is it better to have a really strong batting lineup or a whole lot of arms that you're confident in down the stretch?
The answer is yes, Drake. No, just kidding. No, clearly you want both. And I think that's when you start thinking about Texas. That kind of is who Texas is. Texas has a little bit of both. But I would say if you made me pick one or the other, I would want an offense like Texas Tech. I do think there are times in a tournament like this where your offense can get so far out in front of people that you can really mask some issues on the pitching side. The other thing, and Baylor's in danger of this today, Texas Tech, might run rule Baylor. And so then, in theory, it saves pitching for both clubs. So, yeah, when you're playing this many games in a short period of time, especially at this time of the year when hitters are 200 at bats in, your hitters in theory are really dialed in. I think a really potent offense can be a way that you can overwhelm a conference tournament.
Mike, you talked about some parity in baseball and even Eastern Carolina going down in their conference tournament. I'm looking at Baylor. You talked about the series in Lubbock. That's going to be where the Bears hang their hat when it comes to postseason resume, is taking that top 10 win in Lubbock, Texas, first team to do so since 2018. Then you get them in a game like today where you're down 9-1. You got the bases loaded and a shot to maybe make some noise here. But is that a surprise to you at all after taking a series on the road that Baylor has struggled so much in the opening game today?
Well, it's not a surprise to me because I think Texas Tech has just continued to play so well. And, I think for Texas Tech, there was the rumors that Tim Tadlock was the number one candidate at A&M. They lock him up to a lifetime contract. They announced a new building. So I think there's a lot of momentum at Texas Tech. I think ultimately the challenge for Texas Tech is, do the injuries catch up with them? There's several injuries on the mound. Dylan Noisey's out for the year. If Texas Tech is not a top 8 seed, can they win a super regional on the road? They've never played a super regional on the road. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised because I think so highly of Texas Tech. But I think for Baylor, I like this team, but I like it a lot better at full strength, and they're just not at full strength right now. And I'll tell you, the team, there's 2 categories of teams that Baylor has to look out for. Number one are teams on the outside, like your LSUs, your Georgias, your Long Beach States that are also bubble teams. But the thing that could really hurt Baylor is if Oklahoma makes some noise in this tournament, which they could easily do, and now you're the 6th place team in theory in the Big 12. And I think, right now your 2 resume points are 5th place team in the second best league in the country and a series win in Lubbock. Those are 2 really good bullet points. But if you lose one of them, that's a real problem.
Mike, looking postseason, say Baylor's able to do that. We talked about the RPI 40, right? That's as bubble as you can possibly bubble, and Baylor is on it. And I'm looking up and down these regionals and the possibility of where Baylor could go. I've seen a couple that say Starkville, looking at Arizona, going out to Stanford, maybe even Ole Miss. Best case scenario for a bubble team. Do you want to be in that 8 or 9 regional so that your super regional, say you end up sneaking up on somebody in the regional, is a bit easier? Or do you want to be in that 12 12 to 13, 14 range where maybe your super regional's tougher, but your regional's not as daunting. Just from your perspective, looking postseason, best case scenario.
Yeah, I would say if I'm a bubble team, hey, you're just happy to get in. But I think, like, if you're talking about, kind of winning the surprise regional, I don't think the seed number matters as much as, hey, who's trending in what direction? I think that matters. I also think, like, hey, we could have some first-time hosts this year. Teams like Louisiana Tech and Charlotte. Hey, those are the places I'd want to go. Because very rarely do teams win a regional in their first year as a host. It's just such a new experience, kind of overwhelming for the players and the coaches. So I think my short answer would be that either a team that's trending down, but their resume was strong enough they ended up being a host anyway, or give me a first-time host where maybe the experience is a little overwhelming for that group.
So, Mike, moving forward into the postseason for Baylor, say they get healthy, and it looks like Tyler Thomas will be able to come back if Baylor's able to make it into the NCAA championship tournament or to a regional, and also Blake Helton. Say that you have that scenario for this squad. What is maybe the ceiling, best case scenario ceiling for this team to be able to make a possible or just make noise in the postseason?
Well, I think Baylor, the best version of Baylor, there is no ceiling. Hey, it takes 5 games to get to Omaha. It's not that many, right? Like, you don't have to go on a 10-game winning streak to get to Omaha. Now, granted, winning those 5 games, it does feel like you got to win 55, right? Getting to Omaha is really difficult, and Baylor's going to have to do every bit of it on the road. But again, I'll go back to that resume bullet point. This is a team that went into Lubbock and beat Texas Tech. That just never happens. Like, that's not been done. Texas Tech is 4-0 in home super regionals. So I think Baylor, the best version of Baylor, is very capable. And I'll tell you the other thing I like about Baylor is these players and these coaches have been to regionals. This has become the standard under Steve Rodriguez. So they're not going to be spooked by the regional format or the kind of the anxiety of the postseason. So, if they can get in, I think they're very viable, assuming they're healthy. The best version. I mean, I'll take Tyler Thomas against anybody. That kid's a warrior. Jack Pineda is a great player. I've really come to enjoy him. And, Jared McKenzie, this is a potential first-team All-American down the road. So there's a lot to like about this team, but it's got to be the best version of them, and they got to get in first, and that's going to be their first, the initial challenge.
Well, Mike, last couple of questions for you here. I know I kept you a little bit long, but I love picking your brain on this Baylor team, especially with your knowledge of them. I mean, I'm looking down the stretch, and like you said, you got Luke Boyd, Tyler Thomas, Jared McKenzie, and a lot of these guys that have put together a season that folks weren't expecting. Preseason number 8 in the Big 12, and now on the cusp of making the postseason and finishing on the top half of the Big 12 conference, which has been so solid this year. For you, from a national perspective, when you think about Steve Rodriguez and his body of work at Baylor so far, what is your assessment of Coach Rod, the California guy that's taken Texas by storm?
Yeah, I think I love the job. I'm a big believer in Steve Rodriguez. I thought when Baylor hired him, I thought that was a slam. It was kind of out of nowhere. Didn't see it coming, but a slam dunk home run hire. There was big schools on the West Coast that had been eyeballing Steve Rodriguez. So for Baylor to be able to pull that off, I thought the 2019 team was an Omaha caliber team. And then just, injuries creep up. You lose a Cody Bradford for the year. I mean, that's a future big leaguer on the mound. So I don't think it's an if Steve Rodriguez is going to take a Baylor team to Omaha. I think it's a matter of just when. So, I think you guys have got the right guy. John Strauss is really good with the arms. I love the trend of the program. Just coming out of the 2019 team, that was a special team. That was a special group. It just didn't work out for that team for various reasons. But that's the name of the game in college baseball and other college sports really is you just keep building the momentum of your program. You keep building good rosters, and eventually one of those teams wins the 5 games you need to win to get to Omaha.
Well, Mike, I'd be remiss if I didn't flip our last question back around to you and ask, postseason baseball is coming up, the best time of the year. This whole next month is going to be nuts, and for you, I'm sure covering it as close as you can. Where are you going to be? What's this next month look like for you?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I'm up in Bristol, Connecticut. I'm calling the Big 12 tournament from the mothership, from ESPN, and then I'll be here for the selection show on Monday, which will be really fun. And then I'll come back here for next weekend. The Bases Loaded, the Whip Around program, it's actually being rebranded. It's going to be called Squeeze Play this year. So we'll have the Squeeze Play Whip Around show regional weekend, which is super fun. Maybe my favorite weekend of the entire year. And then, super regionals in Omaha, and here we go.
Man, gas it up. I know there are a lot of folks here, like I said, you still got that basketball hangover, but I'm a baseball guy, so finally we can get to the swing, pun intended, of things here in Waco. Mike, I got a question for you. We got our Bear Games question of the day that we ask all of our callers, anybody that calls, texts, our guests as well. So this one's a little bit convoluted today, but I want to get your thoughts here. We got some woodland creatures going in on this one. Like yesterday, I'll give you yesterday's for some warm-up, though. Baylor baseball is in a big league ballpark playing a 3-game weekend series. Where are you sending this team, and who are they playing against?
Okay, so I get to pick any big league ballpark.
Any one.
And then I need to pick which one, and I need to pick their opponent.
Bingo.
Okay. That's a really good question. I would say, well, okay, so Baylor's got a really cool California connection. So let's go Dodger Stadium, and let's play USC. They've got more national championships than anyone else in college baseball. So let's play the USC Trojans in Dodger Stadium.
Man, you're sending Coach Strauss and Coach Rod back home. I'm sure they won't complain about that whatsoever. Mike, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, joining us and talking Baylor baseball and college baseball. It's a pleasure to pick your brain and get your thoughts on this tournament moving forward. Maybe, baseball is a crazy sport. Maybe Baylor can make some noise.
You got it, Drake. My pleasure.
Thank you, Mike. Again, that's Mike Rooney, national baseball analyst, who'll be calling the Big 12 tournament this week, giving perspective on Baylor. Right now, 9 pitches in this at-bat between Jared McKenzie and the Tech pitcher. McKenzie's going to lift one into left field, and it gets away. Woo-hoo-hoo! Come on, bases loaded, 1 out, top of the 7th. Baylor's Jared McKenzie hits one past the left fielder. He dove for it, couldn't get to it. 2 runs are going to score for the Bears. Could have been all 3, would have cleared the bases, but it was right there on the cusp of being caught by the left fielder. And wouldn't you know it, don't count them out yet, 9-3. 2 guys on. Another run possibly at the plate here. Jared McKenzie, you're in a solid part of the lineup if you're Baylor. 9-3 score, trying to make some noise against Texas Tech here in the 7th. So Tech's got a man in the bullpen right now warming up, and I'm sure they'll go to him as soon as they can. Eli Reichman is the pitcher for Tech as we sit. Reichman's 1-0 this season. He's pitched 9.2 innings as they just got another out. It's 9-4. Is that one? It hadn't happened on TV yet, but I'm seeing right here on the StatCast that Baylor's going to put up another one. 9-4 score, 2 outs, top of the 7th, runner still on for Baylor. So that at least bodes pretty well for the Bears as it sits. It's a 3 spot, at least a 3 spot in the top of the 7th. 9-4 your score, still a runner on. You've got Jared McKenzie on third base. So at the bat, Andy Thomas. If Thomas makes some noise here, Thomas is one of the better home run hitters in the Big 12. As it was a little blooper, little grounder over the shortstop that ended up getting Baylor that run. Cal Conley fielded it cleanly and threw over to first. Andy Thomas up right now. Got a runner on third in Jared McKenzie. Baylor trailing by 5. Again, Thomas is your power hitter for Baylor this season. If he's able to get something doing and scores McKenzie, next thing you know, Baylor's within 4 runs, which is not insurmountable at all. We saw them put up 17 earlier this season, 23 in a game. They can do, that was against Kansas State. This is Texas Tech. But Baylor can make some noise here. They're not going down without a fight. This pretty much takes the threat of a mercy rule, run rule out of it, and you're going to have Andy Thomas is out, but Baylor puts up a 3 spot. Andy Thomas lines out to center field, but Baylor again puts up a couple more runs, adds a little bit, and takes the mercy rule out of contention. It is 9-4. Baylor's got 7 hits, Texas Tech with 10. Tech goes to the bottom of the 7th, so Baylor's down to its last 6 outs, but a shot at least to make a little bit of noise here in the Tech game. I can tell you this. If they would have lost 9-1, if that would have been the final in Bricktown, that would not have looked very good to the committee. But at least they're not going down too quietly against Texas Tech right now. Outside of baseball, we're going to flip over to tennis here for 1 second, then we'll jump into Michael Ford, who joins the show at noon. On the tennis side, Adrian Boiton Facing off right now against a 10-time All-American. Boyton was up 2-1, then 3-2, and now holding it 4-4 in the first set. He's won 4 games, lost 4 games in the first set against an All-American from North Carolina, Adrian Boyton, trying to advance into the individual Final Four, facing William Bloomberg of North Carolina. And there we go. Just went final on another game, the break game, and Boyton won it 6-4. Set 1 goes to Adrian Boyton. He is up 1-0 total over William Bloomberg in sets. Adrian Boyton. That would be an upset if he's able to knock off Bloomberg, who again is a 10-time, the first all-time 10-time All-American for North Carolina. All right, over to baseball, back to baseball again. Baylor down 9-4. Boyton moving on. Tonight, Sven Law and Konstantin Franzen will be competing in the Elite Eight as well. That takes place at 5 o'clock. And Baylor baseball comes to the bottom of the 7th right now with on the mound Zach Childers. So Zach Childers, who this season has gone 6 2/3, is 1-0 and a 4.05 ERA, 6 walks, 9 strikeouts in that 6 2/3 is on the mound. A lot going on today. 2 different Baylor squads in action in baseball and the singles player Adrian Boyton, and we'll keep you updated with those as the day goes on. Mike Rooney just joined us from the National Baseball Analyst. Mike Rooney just joined us. When we come back, we'll be joined by Michael Ford, who is an assistant coach on the Baylor track and field team, to talk a little bit of Baylor track as they're in the West Regional. And then Baylor baseball breakdown at 12:30. We open up the call line, the post game, and then Pat Combs, Baylor baseball analyst who's on the radio right now, will join us at 1. Jeff Haxton, the voice of Texas Tech baseball, joins at 1:30. I'm Drake Toll. We got Marquise Cooley and Armstrong Sims. When we come back from the Baylor track program, 12 athletes on the men's and women's side, 24 total competing in College Station this week for a shot to go to the national championships. Assistant coach Michael Ford joins us after this. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on, as Adrian Boyton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boyton won via his third 3-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boyton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Bloomberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 Baseball Championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
No cakes. Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall, storm powers. Nice man. Good with kids.
Listen. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Diner guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No kicks.
Here's Drake Toll and Armstrong Sims.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Rolling through Baylor baseball right now in the bottom of the 7th, trying to make some noise against Texas Tech, trailing as it sits 10-4 as the Red Raiders have put up another one in the bottom 7. Adrian Boitan takes set 1 against Bloomberg in Orlando. And now, I mean, look, Coach, they told us that sports would start dying down come about the middle of May, and they lied to us as assistant track coach Michael Ford joins the show. Everything's going on right now.
Yeah, we're trying to keep tabs on everybody else. I mean, we have track here in College Station, and we got baseball going and tennis still, so there's a lot of Baylor Bear action still going on. I'm telling you, they said it. They said, look, your job gets so much easier and there's so little to cover when it comes late May, and they lied. They absolutely lied, and a big part of that is you guys, you know, being in the West Regional, and not only that, the amount of athletes that are competing with this Baylor team this week on the men's and women's side. Give me an outlook, Coach, on what the next 4 or 5 days will look like for you and your team. It's going to be a little different. I mean, this is the first time we've had regionals where the men and the women were split. We've done it for nationals the last 2 years. But the regional is normally a 3-day meet. Now it's a 4-day meet. So we actually just got back from working out our young ladies at the track for their last shakeout before they compete tomorrow. Our men, they go today. We start off with the pole vault at 3:00, and then we kind of just roll through it until about 9 tonight. And the last event for our men tonight will be the 200.
Well, Coach, I know it's going to be a long 4 days for you guys being in College Station. I mean, just take me through the stamina that it takes not to be – I know we always talk about the athletes and how much they put in, but to be a coach and be standing out there for 4 days and just pouring it all into these guys, what is that like?
Well, I'll let you know after Saturday. First time for us to do it. So I think the big thing is trying to manage the athletes when they're not competing. It's usually a lot easier once we're at the track, but making sure our ladies are sleeping, resting, eating, getting treatment when they're not competing. And our guys, like I said, today, they start off today. And I think the big thing for us is making sure, one, they know how to qualify in their races for today. And then the good thing is that guys will be off tomorrow, and then they'll come back on Friday. So the same thing with the ladies. The ladies will start tomorrow, they'll have off Friday, and they'll compete on Saturday. So I actually like the format. It's just trying to, I would say, the dead time. And as a coach, I'm at practice all day already, so I'm kind of used to it. But it'll go by quick, though.
Coach, looking at being in College Station with 12 athletes, 12 individuals competing on the men's side and the women's side, plus relays, you got a lot going on and a lot to keep up with. When you think about how many Baylor athletes are competing in this meet, is that typical? Is that standard of this Baylor squad?
Well, that's always a standard. I mean, you want to bring as many athletes you can to a regional track meet. If we only had one, it'll be a very long week if we didn't. So I think the more you get, and that means you have more opportunities to qualify for to Eugene in 2 more weeks. So our big thing is we wanted to make sure that every kid that we brought throughout the year made sure they were in the top 48. So it's been a great bunch of young ladies and men. So we're excited about who we brought in and see how many more we can bring to NCAA championships to finals.
Looking up and down the list of these athletes, too, that are competing for you guys over the course of the next week, and I'm looking on the women's side at Aaliyah Miller, who we followed very closely all year long. What is it that makes her so not just good, but consistently good in what she does?
Well, she's a pro on and off the track. I think her experience has helped her tremendously. I think the success she's had at the Big 12 level and at the national level has prepared her to compete this weekend. And for her being at the high level, her big thing is making sure that she understands the qualifying and not try to kill herself to get through, and then really, really work hard in the next 2 weeks to get ready for the NCAA championships, because that would be the ultimate test, but she has to do it here to get there.
Coach, I look across the way and you see Aaliyah Miller, and then you go right to Akira Nugent, who has put up headlines in her own right across the year this season, has been so consistent as a freshman. How just big is it that not only is she coming in and making noise, but she'll be making noise for 4 years on the track for Baylor? Yeah, she's an awesome young lady. I think I know like in basketball and football, they always talk about like a gym rat. She's a gym rat. I mean, she studies her event. She's a student of the game. She knows the past success athletes that we've had, even the world-class athletes that she wants to become. So for her, it's just trying to get her to, she's still only, I think, 17, 18 years old, but she has I would say an old soul. And, but she does well with competition. She loves the bigger competition. She steps up when she needs to step up. And so that's always a good thing. So when the lights come on, she's ready to go. Coach, for a lot of these athletes, and this applies whether it be track, baseball, volleyball, all the way to tennis, For even freshmen, sophomores, many have not competed at conference championship meets or in regional meets because of COVID, and transfers and the like are the exact same. Looking at what your team's able to do in the conference championship meet, how different, how new of an experience was that for the younger athletes that have never been there?
I think for us, since we do have 2 seasons, I think the indoor season helped our young group get prepared for our outdoor season. There's really not a big difference from indoor to outdoor besides the events changed. You instead of running a 60, run 100. And then we add a couple more field events. So I think the preparation that we had indoor helped us a lot for outdoor. And it seemed like the kids were actually a lot more excited for the season. I was concerned because they hadn't run for a year. But they've actually locked in and followed, I think, with the help of our strengths coaches, our nutrition, and our medical staff. They've done an awesome job to keep everybody healthy for the most part.
So, Coach, going into the West Regional, when you look across the athletes that are set to compete, who are a couple of names that we got to watch out for that should land those top 12 finishes to advance?
The ones that come off the top of my head, of course, you named 2 of them already, Aaliyah Miller and Nugent. And then also, I think on the men's side, you look at Trey Fields, the Big 12 champ in the 400. He's had an awesome year this year. He's been competing at a high level, and his confidence is really high right now. I would say the relay teams, we've always been strong on our relays, and the relays look well to get through in advance. Tuesday Tidwell, she starts competing on, I believe, on Thursday in pole vault, in women's pole vault. She has a great shot. She was an All-American indoor for us. And who else would I think? And I think Kavia, our other young freshman Jamaican runner, she has a good shot to make it in the 2 and the 4.
Coach, I'm looking across the Big 12 championship too, and we had Deshaun Jones on this show right before you guys competed in the Big 12 outdoor, and I think he was slated 4th or 5th to finish in his race and had won the indoor and had a chip on his shoulder, he told us, going into the outdoor. And it was, take the drip, the outfit that he had, along with his competition, and it's tough to find a better an athlete with more swagger out there. But take us through, Deshaun Jones, really his progression coming from being a transfer, coming to Baylor, and then winning a Big 12 championship in his first time in the outdoor.
Yeah. Deshaun has had an awesome season. He started back in, he actually came in January, so he didn't really have even a fall training with us at all. So I think for him, when the lights come on for Deshaun, he does really well. He competes hard, and he strives on the competition.
Coach, too, we want to give plug to a guy we've had on the show a couple of times now, and that Casey Lightfoot, who has now decided to go pro. And I know that can be tough for a track program, but having a guy with those kind of Olympic aspirations who still wears Baylor proudly, what does it mean to have had someone of that caliber in this program?
Oh, it's great. We definitely were sad when Casey decided to turn pro in the middle of the season, because you always want him to finish it out. But I think he did what was best for him to get ready for the Olympic trials. I think the big thing is for him is it's going to be a little different for him, where the training is going to be a little different because he's traveling a lot more. He'll probably have to run in Europe a little bit to get ready for the Olympic Games and Olympic trials. But it was definitely, I think it helped our position in the pole vault. So we're getting a lot more freshmen, incoming kids that love Baylor because of pole vault, with him and Tuesday doing so well, and our young ones with Ben Conacher and Alex Kubicek, they're doing well too. So I think it looks strong for our pole vault program.
Well, Coach, going into the West Regional, what is the best case scenario, the outlook where in a week from now you turn around and say, you know what, we went, we competed, and we did our best?
Yeah, the best case scenario is everyone qualifies. That's going to be the best case scenario. I think if we compete to our ability, we'll have a strong showing at Eugene in 2 more weeks. I think the thing is right now, The team looks they're really focused on what they have to do for the next 4 days. And like we've been telling them, let's take it day by day, race by race, and let's just focus on what we got to do today and tomorrow. Because the big days are today and tomorrow for the individuals. The relays, they don't go until Friday and Saturday, but today and tomorrow, those are the big days for the individual athletes.
Coach, for you, I'd be remiss if I didn't just throw his name out there because he's been such a staple in Baylor track and field for so long now, and that's Coach Todd Harbour and what he was able to do. Nobody ever wants to follow the legend because it's always so tough to do, and he did that. He followed the legend, Clyde Hart. What can you say about Coach Todd Harbour and what he's done with this program?
I mean, he just took it to a different direction. I mean, I think when Coach Hart was here, it was 4x4U, and he wanted to get as many 400 guys to come in and do well. And Coach Harbour decided that, hey, we need to be a better team overall. And so we put a lot of scholarship money overall. And so in our field events and our distance events and our sprint events. And so we wanted to make it a better overall team. And then I also think that, but we still wanted to keep the tradition of the 400 and 4x4s going. So I think Todd put his stamp on that.
We got audio there. Coach, can you hear me okay right there? I think we got you again. I'm sorry about that. We cut you off there in the middle of a thought. Keep going, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I thought he's done an awesome job. I think he's giving, instead of having all the money invested in the sprints, we spread it out to we have a lot of new young.
Let's see. We're still losing audio there. There we go. Let's see right there. Let's see. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that. Fingers crossed right there. But yes, Coach Todd Harbour. I got you now.
Yeah, but I also think that the audio of the Wi-Fi in the hotel is not great. But I think that he's just spread it out, just spread our scholarship money out, and I think that his big focus is always going to be how can we be a great conference team. And but still get the high caliber kids and take care of it that way. And so we get kids well-rounded spiritually, mentally, physically to do well and also graduate. And that was a big thing too.
Well, Coach, I'd be remiss, too, if I didn't bring up Clyde Hart, who was such a staple in the track world for so long as a coach at Baylor. And I tell you what, you were one of those guys that got to be around him up close and personal as an athlete. What was it like being a player with the legend, Coach Clyde Hart?
Well, he was awesome. He was almost like a father figure to me growing up. I mean, he recruited me out of Rochester, New York, to come to Baylor. I fell in love with it from day one. And the big things that I still tell recruits today is the thing that Coach Hart told me was he never promised me that I would be a great athlete, but he said I'll be a better person. But I would also graduate. And so that's all I needed to know. And it worked out. As a coach, he's just a genius. For years after he hired me, I would sit in his office and we would talk training for hours. And so I learned a lot from him. A lot of my philosophies has come from Coach Hart. And it was a huge honor for me to be around him for about 18 years and learning my craft. And so I owe him a lot to the success I've had over the years. I've owed Coach Hart a lot to it.
And Coach Ford, for you talked about being from Rochester, New York, and I know we talked a lot about the current athletes and coaching staff, but you took a chance coming to Baylor from New York. I mean, how did you get here? Why Baylor for you?
Well, for me, it was I wanted to get away from New York. Of course, I'm not a big snow guy anymore. I love the heat. But the things that drew me to Baylor were the small family atmosphere that I felt when I was on campus for my visit. And then of course, Michael Johnson was just finishing up Baylor, and Michael Johnson was probably one of my all-time favorite athletes. And so I got a chance to at least train with him a little bit while he was still training here. And also Mike Singletary, I got to watch him play a lot of football. We for some reason we got a lot of Baylor games in New York, so I was able to watch the Bears play a lot. But I just fell in love with the city of Waco, and I knew that it was far enough for me to just focus on school. And then the Christian atmosphere at the time for me wasn't a big deal, but it actually molded me to who I am today.
And then one of my last questions I got for you here, Coach Ford, you went back to Rochester as an assistant coach at the University of Rochester and then decided to return to Baylor. I know you talked about why you came here as an athlete. Why come back as a coach?
Well, it was kind of the same thing. I thought that I've always been big in family. And when Coach Hart called me and said, "Hey, Mike, I got a position for you," I thought it wasn't a real hard decision. I knew Coach Hart really well. Coach Smith, me and her were teammates, and Coach Brabham, he was here. So I knew the area, and I was really comfortable with them. And I knew the success we've had over the years when I was in school, and I had a good vision of what I wanted our team to look like. And but it wasn't a hard sell. It wasn't a hard sell at all. I think the family atmosphere at Baylor, the way the administrators, our athletic administrators, put a lot of emphasis on sports, but we also want to grow as human beings and making us better people. And so it was an easy sell for me to come back.
Well, Coach, last question for you here as you go into a big week with the Baylor track team, the West Regional in College Station. What is it about these meets, whether they be 3 or 4 days, the typical or the atypical, that you really take away and cherish being with your team for so long in this kind of format?
I think the big things I take away from them are just the fact that you've made it to another level. Conference, we don't have it's not a qualifying. You have a certain amount of people you can bring to the conference meet and you go. But when you get to the regionals and you also get to nationals, it's what you have done to get there. And so you have to qualify to get here. And so for me, it's just making sure I like to see the kids continue to advance to the next level. I think a lot of times when we recruit, those are the meets that we're recruiting towards. So we're always recruiting towards the Big 12, the regional meet, and the national championships. And so that's the kind of kids we want. So when you mentioned earlier about the numbers, we would love more numbers. I mean, we have a big group here, but we probably wanted like another 6 or 7 more people. So for us, it's trying to get as many people as we can, and then having the opportunities to go to the next meet. So I just doing that to me is the most joy I get, and because there are a lot of people staying at home, and their season's already over with. So our thing is, let's see who can continue until mid-June.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on with us today and give you our Bear Games question of the day that we give all callers and guests. And today's is really something. So Today, you're in the woods on a camping trip. You're just trying to get away, right? You're in the Pacific Northwest. You have somehow found yourself eye to eye with a grizzly bear and an aggressive elk. They have teamed up against you. And to your right, there's a mountain lion and a wild boar. To your left, you've got a wolf, a crossbow, and a western pond turtle. Quick thinking, which duo, mountain lion and the wild boar, or are you taking the crossbow, the wolf, and the turtle to help fend off this bear and elk?
I think I'm definitely not going with the bow, because I'm a city boy, so I've never thrown that, and I'm gonna go with the animals to help me.
Boom.
Oh man.
Lock it in. Hey.
I think the mountain lion, I would trust a mountain lion, but me hitting an animal full speed, I don't think I'll able to do that.
Yeah, it's the elk that you got to worry about. Everybody overlooks that elk, but the mountain lion's ability to take down the elk, the wild boar can fend off the bear. You just kind of get to sit and watch. You landed the right. You survived. Oregon Trail style, you survived.
Well,
Coach,
thank you so much.
Hey, thanks so much for joining the show today. A pleasure having you on and getting your perspective going into this weekend. Congratulations to the amount of athletes that have made it. And, Coach, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Nice talking to you. And SicEm.
I love it. Thanks again, Coach Ford. Again, Michael Ford, assistant track coach with Baylor University. They are this week in College Station, meeting up with some of the best teams across the country. SEC Network is where you can find that meet. It starts at 3 o'clock today and runs through, I think it runs through like Saturday or Sunday. I think I've seen somewhere it says Sunday, somewhere it says Saturday. So you can check out the action on the SEC Network, SEC Plus. Right now, Baylor baseball update. It is 11-4, top of the ninth. Baylor's got guys coming up with their last chance to try to come back and pull something off and maybe, I don't want to say win this thing, but make some noise. We're down to 3 outs left in the ball game. Baylor trails it by 7. Had a shot to put up a couple more in the 8th after a 3 spot in the 7th and couldn't get any across. So it is 11-4 right now. We've got some game recap coming up at 12:30. Figured that game would be over by then, but no, this one's going long. Started at 9. We're at 12:23 and still marching on between Baylor and Texas Tech right now. They are going to the top of the 9th. And in tennis, Adrian Boitan is competing today in the individual championships. He is in the Elite 8. Boitan 6-4, took set 1, 3-1. He is currently up in set 2. So trying to take set 2, he's got to win 3 more games in the set to be able to take the match against one of the better players in the country. I mean, I to my knowledge, Adrian Boitan was not supposed to win today, but he has just been on an absolute tear. Facing William Bloomberg of North Carolina, Boitan takes another game. He's now up 4-1 on William Bloomberg and up 40-30 in the current game. So Adrian Boitan with a chance. He's getting very close to taking down William Bloomberg, the 10-time All-American, and ending Bloomberg's single season. Bloomberg will play again in the doubles against Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law later today. So it's Boitan's 21 in the nation and Bloomberg's 35. But a lot of folks, after Bloomberg, what he did yesterday, thought that he had the upper hand, the advantage today against Boitan. But Adrian is just still marching on. He's found a way to get things done, and he is still alive today with a pretty solid lead against his competitor, Bloomberg. I'm Drake Toll. Got Armstrong, Sims, and Marquise Cooley. When we come back, we're recapping more and covering more of the Baylor baseball game as they are playing Texas Tech right now in Oklahoma City in the Big 12 Championships. And we'll open up the phone line to get your post-game thoughts on Baylor baseball's opening game of the Big 12 tournament. Again, Drake Toll, Armstrong, Sims, Marquise Cooley. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. And tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boitan and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite 8 yesterday. Boitan won via his third 3-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boitan kicks off against 10-time All-American William Bloomberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 Baseball Championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
I got breaking news here. We got Western Athletic Conference just announced they're adding several schools.
The WAC.
The WAC.
Okay. Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just like just a hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Oh, baby. Phone lines are open, 254-339-1122. Going to be a tough one for Baylor baseball. Going to be a tough one for Baylor baseball today. Taking on Texas Tech 11-4. So you've got now Jared McKenzie found his way. Interestingly enough, Jack Pineda was hit with a pitch. And they reviewed it, determined that he was, in fact, hit with the pitch. Next batter, Jared McKenzie, hit with a pitch almost immediately. So Texas Tech has now put 2 on for Baylor in the top of the 9th. It is 11-4. Tech is leading the ball game. Andy Thomas is at the plate. Again, Andy Thomas was at the plate with McKenzie in scoring position earlier in the game. I think that was the 7th inning. Couldn't get much going. They had 3 runs across in the top of the 7th. Baylor now trailing it by 7, 11-4, with 2 on, 1 out in the top of the 9th. So 2 outs left for Baylor in the baseball game to try to make some noise. Andy Thomas at the plate. He's down, no balls, 2 strikes. Again, there's 1 out. On the mound for Texas Tech, Derek Bridges. This season, Bridges has gone 7 1/3 coming into the game. 4 earned runs, 4.91 ERA, and Bridges allows Andy Thomas to get on. So Andy Thomas, oh my goodness. Believe it or not, 0-2 count, no balls, 2 strikes. Andy Thomas is hit with a pitch. So now we got Jack Pineda is at third base, Jared McKenzie at second, Andy Thomas is at first base, batting Antonio Valdez. So Baylor's got Antonio Valdez with the bases loaded to try to make some noise for the Bears. I know we talked about this earlier, but it holds true that Baylor is in need of a win in the Big 12 tournament some point across the span of this to be able to make it into postseason play. That's not going to be easy. I mean, it's going to be a tough swing for Baylor to be able to make it when you're looking at, 11-4. We're going to go pinch hitter now. Alex Gonzalez comes to the plate for Baylor. It's not going to be easy when you've got a seasoned body of work. We'll take a look at the Baylor body of work during this segment. But Scotty B, Adrian Boitan has won the singles match. Only an hour and a half. He made really quick work of Bloomberg in Orlando, and Adrian Boitan moves on for Baylor tennis in the singles. He will compete now in the national semifinal in the Final Four. And I got a text during that break from a national tennis analyst saying there's a really good shot that he'll end up making the championship. Adrian Boitan takes down William Bloomberg, who is a 10-time All-American. I'm telling you, Boitan is doing things that Boitan was not really expected to do in this tournament to now make the Final Four. Boitan, the number 21 player in the country in singles tennis. That's not top 10, that's not top 15, but now here he is in the Final Four. He has won for Baylor tennis. In the Elite Eight at 5 o'clock, Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law will meet Bloomberg. So Bloomberg's day is not done for North Carolina. He's going to go out in the doubles and compete again later on in the day. Looking at Baylor baseball right now. Bases loaded. Pinch hitter is at the plate. The pinch hitter is Alex Gonzalez. This season for Gonzalez, 24 at-bats, 9 hits, 7 RBI. He has walked 4 times, struck out 7 times. His on-base percentage is .464. His average is .375. Gonzalez has been a trusted pinch hitter for Baylor so far. He has 3 RBI with 2 out. Bases loaded, he has hit 100 this season, 1,000. He's batted 1,000 with the bases loaded. Here he is with the bases loaded still. He's got 1 ball, 2 strikes on him. Baylor down right now 11-4. But if he can get a hit, if pinch hitter Alex Gonzalez can put something together for the Bears with the bases loaded, they can at least, again, make a little bit of noise. Just best case scenario here would be he strikes out. Well, that was anticlimactic. Alex Gonzalez strikes out on the breaking ball, a pretty pitch from Derek Bridges, and that brings Kyle Nevin to the plate. Kyle Nevin this season batting. He has had 173 at-bats, 49 hits. He's got 22 RBI, 1 triple, 1 home run. He's walked 15 times, pretty solid. His on-base percentage is .337, batting average at .283. Nevin's been a pretty consistent starter. Started at first base there for a while in the absence of Chase Wesner. He hits .500 with the bases loaded and .205 in the leadoff spot in an inning. Here he has bases loaded. Andy Thomas on first base, Jared McKenzie on second, Jack Pineda at third, Kyle Nevin is batting. Say that Nevin is able to get a hit here. Baylor's got a shot again. At this point in the game, it's 11-4, 2 outs in the top of the ninth. You're not asking Baylor to win. It's going to be tough for Baylor to make noise and win the game. That said, you still have the opportunity to save some face in a game that you were down originally 8-0. So Baylor for RPIs, from an RPI standpoint, if you can at least get close, because run differential is factored in, if you can at least get close, Baylor will have a shot to still have a postseason resume that's good enough to get them into the NCAA tournament. 2-0 count on Kyle Nevin. Next pitch is a swing and a miss. Now 2-1, bases loaded, and Nevin with a shot on an 87-mile-an-hour fastball to hopefully do something for Baylor. Back across to tennis, Baylor women's tennis. The official ranking has come out, final ITA ranking, number 14 in the nation. So Joey Scrivano and company finished their season at 14th in the country, and that is the 11th time since 2005 the Lady Bears have finished in the top 15 on the women's tennis side. There's a ball to Kyle Nevin. 3-1 count now. Bases still juiced. Thomas at first. You've got Jared McKenzie at second. And at third base, Jack Pineda trying to get something going here with Kyle Nevin. Next pitch is a swing and a miss. So now we'll look at the payoff that is going to decide if Baylor is still alive in this game or not. Again, if Baylor loses, they will play tomorrow, and that will either be against TCU or against Kansas State. So Baylor losing this ball game will play the loser of TCU and Kansas State. Nevin pops one up on the infield. Tough play in right field. Second baseman camps. Right fielder comes in to make the grab, and that's the ball game. Final score for Baylor baseball, Texas Tech 11, Baylor 4. The Bears fall in Game 1 in Bricktown against the same team they took 2 out of 3 against on the road in Lubbock. Baylor going back to the hotel, getting ready for tomorrow's game that'll take place at 9 a.m. on ESPNU. So Baylor baseball, ESPNU tomorrow, 9 a.m., taking a look at the rest of this bracket and the way it shapes out. Best case scenario is that TCU does end up beating Kansas State. Baylor gets Kansas State tomorrow, a team they took 2 out of 3 against in Waco. Then you would have Baylor, Kansas State at 9 o'clock on ESPNU. If they win that one, they're going to have to play the loser of TCU and Texas Tech, if that is the case in scenario in which this plays out. So at that point in time, Baylor would either have to beat Texas Tech for the third time this season or beat TCU for the first time this season, moving into that one. And then Baylor and TCU, or the winner of that one is going to play the winner of that TCU and Tech game. So no matter what, where Baylor is right now on their side of the bracket, they're going to have to go toe-to-toe with TCU or Kansas State, with either TCU or Texas Tech to be able to move into the championship semifinal or the championship game in this tournament. When we come back, we'll have a full game recap. We'll open up the phone lines, take callers and texters, 254-339-1122. We'll do a complete game wraparound recap and take your thoughts on Baylor's 11-4 loss to Texas Tech in round 1 of the Big 12 baseball tournament. Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims and Marquise Cooley. When we come back, it's a Baylor baseball recap. We look at the full game, what happened, why it happened. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boyton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boyton won via his third 3-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boyton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Blugberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 baseball championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Alan Samuels is celebrating the Jeep Memorial Day sales event. It's an exciting time for the Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months. Jeep Cherokee Laredo, built tough as nails, and up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months going on now. Jeep, a great SUV. Alan Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer. The best place to get your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340. Alan Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by, let's be friends.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Paulie, give me some of your tots. No, go find your own. Come on, give me some of your tots. No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Brian, don't be jealous that I've been chatting on the line with Dave all day.
Your place for a Baylor take on your lunch break. Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Yeah, it's a little bit better, right? It's not great. We can work with it. All right, doing a baseball game recap of Baylor's loss today to Texas Tech, 11-4, the final score in that one. It is Adrian Boitan moving on for Baylor tennis as he makes his way to the Final Four in the men's singles competition. So that is not unexpected necessarily, not unexpected, not like crazy unexpected, but a little bit unexpected for Adrian Boitan, who's the number 21 player in the nation and is moving on up going to play in the Final Four. I got a text, like I said, from a couple national tennis analysts that think that he's going to win this next round, too, in the semifinal to be able to make it to the championship meet. So Adrian Boitan, big shout-out to him for making it as far as he has and for moving on with a win against Bloomberg today from North Carolina. We'll keep our eye on tonight, number 5, 5 o'clock. You got Sven Law and Konstantin Franzen taking on a North Carolina doubles pair to try to move themselves on to the Final Four. So can two of these Baylor Bear men's tennis duos, guys, team, individuals, keep it up? Well, we'll find out tonight at 5. Cross baseball today. Setting the stage, you're ready for a tight matchup between Baylor and Texas Tech. I was excited that Mason Montgomery was on the mound for Tech. This season, his stats overall, he's 4-3 now. These stats combined with today, he's got a 3.68 ERA, 87 strikeouts, great strikeout pitcher, to 23 walks. He's allowed 8 home runs, and Bricktown, the ballpark of Bricktown, plays really well to home run hitters. What does Baylor do so well? They hit the ball, and they hit the ball deep. So if you'd have asked me yesterday, which I know you didn't, but I gave it anyway, my assessment of Baylor, Texas Tech, and what I was expecting. Texas Tech is going to throw one of their guys that they don't have a ton of confidence in Mason Montgomery. Why do you do that? Well, it's game 1 of the tournament. Game 1 is not the one you need to win. It's the ones where you're facing elimination, or it's the games where you're right there on the cusp of making a deep run in this tournament into the semifinals or further. So Tech's throwing a guy in Mason Montgomery that Baylor has already seen. We went over the stats yesterday. Same Baylor team that drubbed Texas Tech in Lubbock earlier this season. He was the Sunday guy in that game, got the loss against Baylor, ended up going 5 2/3, allowing 4 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, but that 4 earned runs was enough to help give Baylor a win. The final score in that one, Baylor absolutely demolished Texas Tech, 13-3, 13 hits compared to 7. So all of that put together, I'm thinking, all right, Texas Tech is starting Mason Montgomery against Baylor again today. Well, that's great. The Bears hit him well last time, and if Baylor puts up 4 runs, I'm decently confident they'll have a shot in the game. Oh, boy. Not only that, I'm looking at how Cam Cayley, Baylor's starter, look at his complete body of work, his full stat line for the course of the season, and you're saying, all right, it's not likely that Cam Cayley is going to go out there against Texas Tech and do that well. He hasn't had a great season, but he's been so good in the last few games. Cayley, in his last 8 games, has thrown 1.40 ERA across 25.2 innings. So put together Montgomery, who Baylor has already faced. They hit well. They're going to hit him again because they've seen him once. And Cam Cayley, who's thrown well in his last few ball games, a 1.40 ERA in his last 8 appearances, 25.2. It's a recipe for Baylor to beat Texas Tech, the number 5 team in the country again. They've already gotten 2 wins against them in Lubbock. Here they go out there. If you'd asked me yesterday, and I said it yesterday on this show, I was confident with Cam Cayley out there who's been throwing well, and I was confident with Mason Montgomery out there, who Baylor already hit once this season. They come out, and what happens? First inning, Texas Tech puts up a 3 spot against Cam Cayley. Cayley's got the bases loaded. He walked a combined 4 batters in the first inning alone. So at that point, it's okay, this is probably not good. We probably need to do something that's not this. But if you're in a tournament scenario, it is so tough to just pull a guy. You can't just pull a guy. Top of the first, Montgomery's out there. He's got Pineda, McKenzie. He gets both of those guys out. 1 strikes out looking, 1 strikes out swinging. Not a great start against a guy who you've already hit. Trey Richardson gets a single. Andy Thomas comes up, and he strikes out. So you got 3 guys that strike out in the top of the first for Baylor. Go bottom of the first for Texas Tech. Homer to left field. First guy up for Texas Tech homers. That's how they started the game. Cayley to Baker. Baker goes long ball. Next batter up, walk. Next batter up, walk. You get a fly out, first out, all right, 2 guys on, 1 out. Single from Cal Conley. Now it's 2-0 Texas Tech. Next guy up, fielder's choice. 2 outs. All right, we got something going here. Well, there's another walk. Bases loaded. What are you going to do? We've walked 3 guys so far and allowed a home run from Cam Cayley. Another walk. A walk comes in for Texas Tech. Thankfully, the next Tech batter strikes out. Baylor, though, tough as you allow that. You allow 3 runs in the first inning against Texas Tech. Looking at the rest of these stats here, again, Cam Cayley, the freshman, you want to go a little bit longer or a lot longer in that game, ends up coming out in the first inning after giving up in the second inning without recording an out in the second inning. So one total inning recorded after he gave up a home run there. Not a good look if you're Baylor. I mean, Cam Cayley's been throwing well. You get Montgomery out there for Tech, and you think this is the game that Baylor can make some noise because they've already faced this pitcher for Texas Tech, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Armstrong, were you expecting something different, especially after Baylor took 2 out of 3 against Tech in Lubbock? Like, is this what you expected to see in game 1 of the tournament?
No, I did not expect Baylor to absolutely get the wheels knocked off of them, obviously, because of the previous performance. But now that you think about it, you know, you could have predicted this had Baylor not performed so incredibly well against Texas Tech earlier in the season.
11-4, though. 11-4.
Texas
7
Tech is
runs.
good.
Texas Tech is great. Their offense is great. But the fact that Baylor's offense wasn't able to put up more than 4 runs, I think, is your issue here. Jared McKenzie's hitting .380 this season. And I'm looking up and down the stat lines going into the game, and one could think that Baylor would be able to have a decent showing against Tech, who they've already beaten. But I mean, Tech just jumped out of the gate. And then you got the home run that happens in the bottom of the second. Baylor's offense couldn't get going. Tech's up 3-0. They jack another home run. You got to pull Cam Cayley before he's even able to record an out in the second inning of the game. When your starter isn't able to go more than a full inning, you're going to have trouble, especially in a tournament setting, when you're going to have guys late down the stretch. Where's your confidence level now? You know, moving forward in the tournament after an 11-4 drubbing against a team you already beat.
Non-existent.
Confidence level non-existent.
Confidence level very low.
And tomorrow at 9 a.m. You got to go again at 9 a.m. Very, very weird time to play a baseball game. I don't know if you've ever played a baseball game at 9 a.m.
Not that I can remember.
I don't know if I have either. Maybe once.
Possibly.
And it's just not fun. It's not fun. So I am hating the fact that we're right here on the cusp of Baylor not making the postseason because of a fall apart late in the year. I mean, losing 4 out of 6 against Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, and now you've got a stolen bid alert in the MAAC, the MAAC, the MAAC tournament. So huge upset as Canisius takes down Fairfield. Yesterday, we talked about how Fairfield is the number 2 team in the nation in the RPI. 34-1 coming into their tournament. Well, they just lost to Canisius, which was...
Is it double win?
I don't think so, because it's huge upset. Yeah, it's not. It's not. So they're done. Fairfield is out of the MAAC tournament.
So Fairfield's still in the postseason.
Likely going to make the postseason.
But now we just lost
Right. So now one more bubble spot is taken away as Fairfield has gone down to Canisius. Going to tell you this. I'm looking across the full span, the full spectrum of the Canisius was the 4 seed in the MAAC tournament. Fairfield the number 1 seed overall. That was the first game in the championship round. And now Monmouth and Ryder, the winner of that one, Monmouth and Ryder will play Canisius now that they have knocked off Fairfield. So I'm looking at the work with that, and that does not bode well for Baylor. So you're already right there with the bubble, and now Canisius gone. Fairfield gone from their conference tournament. They're going to make it in. And that might bump LSU. It might bump Baylor with that game happening. So in case you were worried about Baylor making the postseason, that's reason to be doubly worried, because the MAAC will get 2 teams in.
Yes.
When the MAAC gets multiple teams into the NCAA baseball tournament, on a scale of 1 to good, that's probably not good for you.
No.
That's not, especially when Canisius is beating them. Canisius is dangerous now. Canisius is armed and dangerous in the NCAA baseball tournament. If you're Baylor, what can you do? I'm looking at...
Win. You have to win tomorrow.
You've got to win tomorrow against either Kansas State or TCU. And you got to hope that TCU wins today. You know, TCU just dropped a series against Kansas State. If TCU loses to Kansas State today and Baylor has to play TCU tomorrow in an elimination game, on a scale of 1 to good, It's not.
1.
It's not. It's less than good. It's less than 1. On a scale of 1 to good, it's less than 1. It's just not. Tech struck early with that home run. Looking at the rest of this, 2-0 early. The 3-0, the home run. It was a 5 strikeout performance for Montgomery through 2 innings. 4-0 through 2. Texas Tech does it again. 6 strikeouts through 3 for Montgomery. Back-to-back doubles for Texas Tech in the third made it 6-0. Through 3 innings, it was Tech 6, Baylor 0. Baylor had 2 hits compared to the Red Raiders 6. The 4 opening inning walks. Montgomery, the same Texas Tech pitcher that I came on the show yesterday and said, thank God he's starting. Baylor's so going to beat him. Montgomery's stat line through 4 innings had 9 Ks and had only allowed 2 hits through his first 4 innings, and then a 2-run home run in the 4th put Texas Tech up today 8-0, and that was pretty much it. Mason Montgomery's final stat line, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, no earned runs, no runs total, 11 strikeouts in those 5 innings, and no walks for Mason Montgomery. That is what did Baylor in today, is the fact that Texas Tech's starting pitching was much better than Baylor's, and they put up a performance on the batting side, on the hitting side, that Baylor just couldn't match. That's the problem. When you have a batting lineup like Baylor's, when you have enough guys 1 through 9 that can hit the baseball and hit the baseball consistently well, and you're only putting up 4 runs against Texas Tech, that's not good. Looking back to the games where Baylor played Tech earlier in Lubbock, you're in Lubbock, which is not a terrible ballpark for hitters, but Bricktown is one of the best ballparks in the country for hitters. I would love, as a hitter, to play in Bricktown. You're in Lubbock, which I don't think the wind in Lubbock's nuts, too. I don't like the hitting-wise, I'd rather play in Bricktown than I would Lubbock. You go there, you score 12 runs and 13 runs. You only have 1 in that middle game against Micah Dallas, but you've got in the weekend combined, you're putting up 26 runs compared to Tech's 11. And then you go in and you just kind of drop an egg against Texas Tech in this one. And I know we've been recapping and covering what happened here, but now you got to look forward and say, okay, who do you get tomorrow, whether it be Kansas State or Kansas, and how does that Kansas State or TCU, and how does that shape up or bode well for you if you're Baylor? And there's just not a lot of scenarios in which it does. You've really got to lean on the fact that you can go out facing elimination and make noise, because if you don't, you might miss out on the postseason entirely. So Baylor baseball taken down against Texas Tech today. Final score in that one, 11-4. And I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for confidence in a baseball team in Baylor right now as they move forward, it's going to be tough to find anything solid in the rest of this tournament if that's how Baylor's hitting the baseball. They put up 7 hits today total. Those mostly almost all of them came off of relievers for Texas Tech, and Tech did not use their really battery guys, the guys they're going to have to lean on for the rest of this tournament. So going to be tough for Baylor to bounce back from that one. They're going to have to do it against, hopefully, Kansas State. But, man, if Baylor's got to play TCU, that's just going to be tough. That is just going to be really, really tough. So we'll keep you updated through that one. It's 9 o'clock pitch on ESPNU tomorrow. And, again, Adrian Boitan winning in singles, advancing to the Final Four today. So he will take on, or advancing today to the Final Four tomorrow, where he'll take on another competitor with a chance to make it to a national championship in the individual. When we come back here in a little bit, we'll be joined by Pat Combs, who is the play-by-play color analyst. He's a color analyst alongside the play-by-play Derek Smith. Pat Combs is going to talk to us about what it was like in Bricktown today for Baylor baseball. And then after Pat, we'll be joined on this show by Jeff Haxton, the voice of Texas Tech baseball. His thoughts, what he saw from Baylor and Texas Tech today in a game where, well, it just wasn't close ever at all. Starting pitching was the difference as Baylor was outmatched 11-4, the final score. When we come back here in a little bit, Pat Combs joins the show, and we're going to talk Baylor and Texas Tech baseball with the color analyst of the Baylor Bears, Pat Combs. Don't go anywhere. This, Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, Marquise Cooley, is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boynton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boynton won via his third three-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boynton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Blugberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 baseball championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pay for qualified buyer with $4,000 down at 2.9% TTNL extra. See deal for details.
Travel is back, and so are the savings at the Memorial Day Savings Event at Richard Carr. Hit the road in a 2016 Buick Encore for only $152 a month, a 2016 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, a 2018 Mercedes GLA for $334 a month, or a 2015 GMC Terrain for only $135 a month. 100% credit approval is always our goal. It's a Memorial Day Savings Event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's a name and a memory that called us back. It's a belief and a labor that will carry us forward. It's a time and experience that will make you return. The new Bear Ridge Golf Club, a space revitalized, a course restored, a new experience. For a tee time today, call the Pro Shop at 254-848-7800. Go to BearRidgeWaco.com, just south of Waco on Highway 84. Come join us at Bear Ridge Golf Club.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
And welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den today. Talking Baylor baseball, Pat Combs joins us momentarily. A loss for the Bears against Texas Tech today. Adrian Boitan in tennis is going to the Final Four. And you got Sven Law and Konstantin Franzen that play later today. Pat Combs again about to join us, Baylor baseball analyst who is on the call today with Derek Smith. And we got Marquise Cooley with us today. So Marquise, talking a little bit baseball here. Kind of what do you got for us?
So I'm just wondering what's so important about if they have to play TCU. What's the big deal with that? It's just one game.
You know, the thing with baseball, too, is Baylor could win at any point in time against anybody because that's just the nature of the beast in the game of baseball. You know, like you go to Texas Tech and you win a series, which no one ever does. But when you look at, so yes, in a one-game scenario, Baylor could beat TCU or Texas or anybody, and it's like, okay, yeah, you know, baseball's baseball, one game, anybody can win. Coastal Carolina won a national championship. Thing with TCU is they swept Baylor earlier this year. While they're not hot, that's a problem. TCU's not hot in baseball right now, so that doesn't bode well for Baylor whatsoever, but they're still a top 15 caliber team, top 10 caliber team that swept Baylor once already. They are not playing for much in the Big 12 tournament. That's the one thing that's going to help Baylor is the fact that TCU, who's an Omaha caliber team, they're just not playing very good baseball right now, and they don't really care about the tournament. They already know where they're going to be for the NCAA postseason, so whether they win or lose here in the Big 12 tournament doesn't matter for them. But what's dangerous about it is the fact that Baylor is taking on one of the top teams in the country. You know, so you're looking at a matchup where you don't want to have to play a team that's that good.
Well, I mean, I think if you're Baylor, you look at today, you played a top team in Texas Tech. I mean, it didn't go your way, but, you know, TCU, it's going to be a tough game, but it's not going to be as bad. You've already seen the worst of it. Yeah, it's not impossible. I mean, you already got swept by those guys, so it's tough to beat a good team 4 times, and much less 3 times, much less 4 times. So looking at TCU's schedule, and I will say they're not guaranteed to win against Texas or against Kansas State today. It's a fun tournament because so many teams get to see each other after seeing each other in the regular season. And what's great about this is TCU just saw Kansas State on the road in Manhattan. They lost 4-2, won 8-6, and lost 11-8. So they dropped games. They also dropped a series against Louisiana Monroe at home in Fort Worth. They dropped a series to Texas. So since they swept West Virginia, they have lost a series to Texas. They have lost a series to Louisiana Monroe, and they've lost a series on the road at Kansas State. So they're not playing great baseball. That bodes well for Baylor right now. That said, you'd much rather see, if you're Baylor, Kansas State, who you put up 23 runs against in a game earlier this year. The only problem for Baylor when it comes to facing Kansas State is if they get Jordan Wicks, who is Kansas State's ace pitcher. If that is who they throw against Baylor, if Baylor gets Kansas State tomorrow, it's going to be tough to win because it doesn't matter who you are playing against Wicks, you're looking at a problem. And today, well, I say that perfect. Today, Jordan Wicks is facing off against TCU. Kansas State needs to win. So they're going to throw out their best guy against TCU today to try to secure a win against TCU. So Jordan Wicks is out tomorrow if they play Baylor. And right now, TCU, Texas Tech, about to square off in the Big 12 championship tournament. I think you make a good point. Anybody can beat anybody, especially in baseball and in the postseason. So why not face them now, kind of get out of the way kind of deal? So I guess you're not worried about TCU too much? No, I mean, I think Baylor, you've been hot. I mean, I know you dropped the past couple of weeks. You kind of been in a little bit of a slump, but you know what you got to do to get to the tournament. leave it all out there. I mean, it's just one game. I mean, I think any athlete would like that. One game is it's on you to win, and you get to kind of control your destiny a bit. If you win, you know that you have a pretty good shot of making the tournament, and then whatever happens, happens.
I mean, that's the goal. It is the whatever happens at this point for Baylor, and I'm looking at the full body of work that Baylor's put together this season. If I'm going to make a case for Baylor baseball to be in the postseason, they're RPI 40 right now. The RPI should be updated as early as tomorrow as well, so we'll get a better glimpse into what Baylor has done this year. If I'm the committee and I'm leaving Baylor out, here are three things that I point to. First thing I point to, series loss against UTRGV to open the season and a loss in the Round Rock Classic that wasn't close against a pretty bad A&M team and an Oklahoma team that's just mediocre. Then I look, that's the first thing I look at to say you don't make it in. I look after that at being swept against TCU right after dropping 2 out of 3 at home against Texas. So that's 1-5 to start Big 12 play. Two really good teams, but you didn't show too much competition there. I'm leaving you out. Third reason I leave you out is because you lost the series to Oklahoma State in Stillwater. It was close, but you dropped it, and that just didn't look good against an Oklahoma State team that was just kind of treading water. Then you lose to Oklahoma, who had been pretty bad down the stretch this season. They're not a bad team, but they weren't great when you lost to them. So those are the three things, if I'm the committee, that say, Baylor, you don't make it in. If I'm the committee and I say, Baylor, you do make it in, I'm looking at the win streak where you get Sam Houston, Memphis, Xavier, UTSA. You go on a double-digit game win streak in the non-conference. You're winning the games you're supposed to win. At that point, things bode well for you. You're winning your midweeks. You're sweeping series against NC-A&T and Texas State. So in games where Baylor's favored, in the middle of the season, they were winning those. That's the first thing I look at. Second thing I look at, conference wins against West Virginia, Kansas, Texas Tech, and Kansas State all consecutively. The way you beat Kansas State, too, was huge. So if I'm the committee, am looking right there at, all right, you won 4 straight conference series in a row. I'm going to give you the nod right there for the conference, for the playoffs because of that. The third thing, point 3, we already talked about the RPI being 40, and it's not good that Fairfield lost today because they're RPI 2. It's going to take them out of the automatic qualifier. They're going to qualify as an at-large. Canisius will likely be an automatic qualifier. That takes another bubble team out of the conversation. Not good for Baylor. But if I'm the committee and I'm saying put Baylor in, I'm looking at number 3 thing, a win at Texas Tech. You went to Lubbock, 12-4. You went to Lubbock 13-3. You lost a 4-1 game, but the rest of that, you just blew out Texas Tech over the course of the weekend in a ballpark that you hit the cover off the baseball. I give you the nod based on that. Your conference win streak, 4-series conference win streak, winning the games you were supposed to win down the stretch. Your RPI is not bad. Another thing that makes me give Baylor the nod right there is the fact that they played in the Big 12. The Big 12 is the second best conference in baseball. If you're looking at the full body of work of the Big 12 conference, Baylor should make it in for sheer fact of the competition they played this season. So I'm still decently confident that Baylor's going to make the postseason because of what they were able to do against Texas Tech and what they were able to do in a conference like the Big 12. So while a lot of folks are worried about Baylor making the postseason, I've got high confidence still, even though the RPI is not great, that Baylor will be able to make it in, especially if they win tomorrow. If they beat TCU, they're a lock. In my opinion, they're a lock.
So if you're Coach Rodriguez, you know kind of how the field looks right now, and you're confident in yourself, but you know you still maybe have a little bit to prove. With the strategic pitching that they have to deal with for this tournament, how do they go about the rest of the tournament with their pitching, being shorthanded in that area?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I know we talked earlier in the show to Mike Rooney, who's an ESPN analyst, and he said it's so crucial to have great bats here because you're going to run out of pitching at some point. If you're Baylor, you're going to run out of pitching a lot sooner than everybody else because you don't have the guys right now that are in the queue to be able to throw out there. I'm looking at the 2021 cumulative stats, and we're hopefully getting up right now with Pat Combs. I just got a text from him. Hopefully he'll be in here in a second on the Zoom. But I'm looking at cumulative stats this season for pitching staff for Baylor. You're going to have to go. I mean, you threw Muirhead today, which is new. That doesn't typically happen. So you're looking at a situation where they're already using a couple guys they didn't maybe expect to use. And if I am Steve Rodriguez being strategic right now, I'm going to have to go through Luke Boyd, and use him for an inning or two every night. I mean, in games that you have to win, Jimmy Winston's probably saved for tomorrow. Hamilton Oliver could probably go again tomorrow, if not the next day. You've also got, looking past that, Logan Freeman, Jacob Ashkenos, who didn't throw great against Oklahoma State, but you may have to go to him. Cam Cayley can probably come back out. I think he threw close to 45, 50 pitches today, but you can use him again in a couple of days, and maybe he's back on. He's got a couple conference wins under his belt. Ryan Lekich is in the queue as well if you're Baylor. And I think the big thing that's going to help this team out the most is the fact, breaking news, is the fact that that Baylor is going to have a starting pitcher in Hayden Kettler out there tomorrow who's got a lot of experience. Breaking news outside of baseball, and again, we're about to be joined by Pat Combs to recap more of the Baylor baseball game today. Drew Timme, Gonzaga forward Drew Timme, is returning to play for the Bulldogs next season. So, big mustache guy, Drew Timme, the sophomore, announced Wednesday he's returning to the Bulldogs, likely cementing the Zags as the number one preseason team in the country. This per Jeff Borzello of ESPN. Timme was not projected to be selected at ESPN's latest mock draft. So, breaking news, Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. And we got Pat Combs now on the call. Let me know, Armstrong, when we were able to get him up, and we'll get his thoughts on the baseball game today that Baylor dropped to Texas Tech, 11-4, the final in that one. And here he is, live on the air and jumping right into it. I'm telling you, Pat, you're having a busy day today.
Since early this morning, get to the ballpark for that 9 a.m. start today.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, Pat, was it a 4 a.m. wake-up call for you today?
We'll go with 5, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hey, you got it in. You got it done, the baseball game. And I know you said you got a call coming up at 1:30 again today. But, Pat, Texas Tech, Baylor goes on the road, knocks off the Red Raiders earlier this season in 2 out of 3. It's tough to beat a great team 3 times. That's the old mantra that every coach will give you. You get Tech in Bricktown, short some pitchers, and really the Red Raiders were just clicking on all cylinders today with the bats.
Yeah, behind the 8 ball early, Drake, it was unfortunate for Cam Cayley, who's been really good as a starter here, filling in the last couple of weekends. As, of course, Baylor number 1 starter Tyler Thomas out again yet today. Hopefully he'll be back for a regional if Baylor can make it that far. But, yeah, key game today against Texas Tech. Did not get off to a good start. Drew Baker, the leadoff hitter, hit a home run, and then just was downhill from there, unfortunately, for the Bears.
Pat, when I looked across the way, like you said, Cam Cayley, his last 8 appearances, he's got I think he's got a 1.40 ERA. I mean, he's been so good in his last 25, 26 innings across Big 12 play. I looked across the way to saw Mason Montgomery, who Baylor hit pretty well in Lubbock, and today that was just different.
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, and unfortunately for Cam, he's been really sharp with his command, and his last 5 games, he'd only walked 4 hitters in all 5 appearances, and today walked 4 in the first inning. And so it wasn't the home run that beat him. The Bears could have recovered from that. It was the walks and then the additional hits that came after that mounted to a 3-0 lead. And 48 pitches into the first inning, he didn't come out for the second. But yeah, on the other side of the mound was Mason Montgomery, who had been kind of an up and down starter for Texas Tech. Was their typical Sunday starter. Did not have a very good game against the Bears in his first start in Lubbock. But today he was lights out, Drake. It was like a Cy Young guy out there. Just really had command of all of his pitches, and 11 strikeouts, no walks later in the 5th inning. The Bears found themselves down 6-0.
You said it. 11 strikeouts today from Montgomery. The same pitcher the Bears hit pretty well. He took a loss in Lubbock earlier this season. What was it that made Montgomery so good today?
Yeah, I think a combination of things. One, he had his best command I think he had all season. That was apparent in the first inning. He got off to a great start. Had 3 strikeouts to start the game outside of the Trey Richardson single in the first. But you strike out Pineda, McKenzie, and Thomas. A pretty good indication your stuff's working that day. And then he had a pretty good strike zone to work with. So I think a combination of his great command and a pretty big strike zone, and he was just lights out.
Pat, there aren't a ton of positive takeaways from today, but one that really stuck out to me is how many guys that Tech left on base. Even Cam Cayley there early on got in a couple tough situations. While he walked in a run, there was limited damage where Tech could have blown this thing open to 12, 13 runs pretty early on, but Baylor was able to stop the bleeding there in a few innings where things could have gotten really hairy.
Yeah, and I think it was a testament to the bullpen coming in. And we even saw a lot of young arms, Drake, that we don't typically see out of that Baylor bullpen, who kind of kept the game in check. They pitched out of trouble all day long, around 11 walks and 11 hits. So you're exactly right. Tech could have made a much bigger lead out of this early on. But good job by that pen. Hamilton Oliver came in, did a good job. And then he was followed up by some young arms that we had not seen, guys like Freeman and Childers and Leach, who did a fairly good job, with those guys not accumulating a lot of innings this year. And some of those guys were coming in for the first time in a month. They hadn't had an appearance in a long time and really did a pretty good job for the Bears.
Pat, over the course of this tournament, when you talk about pitching staff, especially knowing Baylor is shorthanded for this thing, a lot of schools, like University of Arkansas, they're going into their conference tournament saying, hey, we could win 3 or 4, we could lose the first 2, who cares? We know we're going to the postseason. For Baylor, They've got to pick up some wins here to be able to bolster their resume. If you're Steve Rodriguez, how do you approach this next game?
Well, I think you're going to have a lot more confidence. You've got Hayden Kettler, who's just a savvy veteran on the mound. He's been really solid all year. So, yeah, when you remove Tyler Thomas and then Blake Helton out of your rotation going into the Big 12 tournament, on paper things don't look good. But on the flip side of that, you've got a day like today that kind of got away from you early. So Baylor was able to save all their back end arms. You weren't going to see a guy like Lekic or Freeman or Luke Boyd in a game like today. So the good news is the Baylor back end of the bullpen is fresh. You've got Hayden Kettler, a great veteran, on the mound tomorrow, and they'll play the loser of the TCU K-State game. So, yeah, I think it bodes well for Baylor today that if you're going to lose a game like today on opening day, it wasn't a close one where you burned up a lot of your big arms in that bullpen.
Pat, we were talking on the show, and I said it was almost obvious that Baylor wants to play Kansas State, and somebody had some pushback for me and said, well, Baylor already beat Kansas State, beat the brakes off of them, but you got a Kansas State team that's probably out for blood, that being said. And on the other side, TCU, they're not playing well. Baylor already was swept by them, so you get a better chance to sneak up on them in one of these games. They may overlook a team like Baylor. For your perspective, do you want Kansas State or do you want TCU tomorrow to try to stay alive?
Man, that's a tough call. To me, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. And I think that's kind of the coach's cliche, right? We take whoever, comes our way. But, I think it would bolster Baylor's RPI if they were able to play TCU and get the win. Obviously, TCU with a top 10 RPI rating. And you look down at the selection committee, what they had to work from, and that resume would look really good if Baylor had a win against a Horned Frog team this late in the season. On the other hand, if you play K-State, it's a game you got to win. So I think from that perspective, you just go in tomorrow thinking whoever we play, we have to come out on top. We've got to do everything we can to win that game tomorrow, just to bolster that resume.
Pat, last couple of questions here for you, and I want to thank you again for joining us today, taking some time to talk about the game. When it comes to the committee, if you're on the committee or you're vouching for Baylor, what is your case as things sit right now for putting this team in?
Yeah, I think the case is pretty strong for Baylor, even though you've seen some of the projections that they may be the last Power 5 team in. But they've been kind of moved around some different areas in terms of potential regionals. I think the case to be made, though, is when you look at their quality wins, and you go back to that Texas Tech series, obviously huge weekend for them. They didn't fare as well against Texas or TCU, but in the Texas game, all 3 of those games could have gone either way. And then I think you look at the body of work. When you look at the RPI, that takes into account the quality wins, the poor losses, maybe some couple of games that got away from Baylor early in the season. I think you also look at the fact that they put together a really strong winning streak and were very good winning a number of the Big 12 series. So when you look at a Power 5 resume, I think it's strong. I also think that hopefully the committee will take into effect the fact that Baylor's been without some key players here last couple of weekends. You lose your number 1 starter going into the last 2 weekends of conference and you don't have available for the tournament. That's a huge deal. So I hope that they look at those types of things. But then, of course, Baylor can erase all of that and win a couple of games here in Bricktown, and I think it would cement their deal.
Absolutely. Pat, last question for you here. I want to flip it around to you personally. When it comes Big 12 Championship Tournament Week, something we didn't get last year and didn't know if we would get this year or what it would look like, what is this week like for you? How much fun is it to just have all things baseball for a couple of days?
Yeah, I love it, man. I live for this stuff and love college baseball. Of course, being around this Baylor team all year, they just put together an exciting product on the field. And it's a blend of these veterans that we really have enjoyed watching the last 5 seasons. It can be tough to see a guy like Gainey Thomas finish his career, but Guys like Andy and Davion Downey and Luke Boyd, guys that have, sweat and blood and tears in this program, and a really good blend of young players that really, I think, for the future of Baylor baseball, it's looking really bright. They get a couple of these big arms to come along, and, man, watch out for this team next couple of seasons because they have got a really powerful lineup.
Well, Pat, I want to thank you again for joining us today, and I got to listen to the call, and I tell you what, win or lose, you guys always sound great, so I think there's a positive takeaway, but thanks for coming on the show today and giving us perspective from Bricktown.
Always a pleasure, Drake. Anytime. Take care.
Thanks again, Pat. Again, Pat Combs, the color analyst for Baylor Baseball. When we come back from this break, we are joined by the voice of Texas Tech Baseball, Jeff Haxton, to talk about Bricktown today, the atmosphere, and what went down between Baylor and Texas Tech. Drake Toll, Armstrong, Sims, Marquise Cooley. When we come back, Jeff Haxton of Texas Tech joins the show. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. Top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boyton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boynton won via his third three-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boynton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Blugberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 Baseball Championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Alan Samuels is celebrating the Jeep Memorial Day sales event. It's an exciting time for the Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months. Jeep Cherokee Laredo, built tough as nails, and up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months going on now. Jeep, a great SUV. Alan Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer. The best place to get your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340. Alan Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by, let's be friends.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Paulie, give me some of your tots. No, go find your own. Come on, give me some of your tots. No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Brian, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with Dave all day.
Your place for a Baylor take on your lunch break. Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den today. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'll tell you what, they say that Bricktown is a hitter's ballpark, and I'm pretty sure they're right. 4-0, a quick start from Kansas State, a la Texas Tech. Jeff Haxton, the voice of the Red Raiders, joining the show today, Red Raider Baseball. Tell you what, Jeff, Kansas State said, let's just rip a page out of Texas Tech's book.
They did. They've done some really impressive things here. A couple walks, then a couple knocks. Most of this has been done with 2 outs. And I think that was Drake Phillips. I can't remember. Phillips. Well, what's Phillips' first name? I don't know. He just put it up on the berm. So K-State's off to a great start, up 4-0. They're finally done. And TCU, I was wondering, were we going to get really mad TCU, the ones that want to, get back in the national seed conversation, or the TCU that's just kind of going through the motions? And K-State's that other team. K-State's that team that's saying, not only are we going to win today, but we're going to try to win this whole thing and go to the NCAA tournament.
I tell you what, Jeff, when it comes to teams winning the NCAA or winning their conference tournament that shouldn't, Baylor needs as few of those teams to make a run as possible, as Fairfield went down to Canisius today. That's going to hurt some bubble squads. And we've talked about bubble. Jeff, for this Baylor squad, what you saw today compared to what you saw in Lubbock earlier this year, was there anything different, or is this just the parity that is baseball?
I think Baylor, with COVID and some injuries, looked like a completely different team today, to be honest with you. There wasn't much life there. That happens sometimes in a 9 a.m. start. I've seen Texas Tech not have any life on this field every year that I've come up here. Texas Tech has been really bad here. Now, I got there in 2017. That was my first year. But it's usually 2 and Q, or win 1 and then go home. Texas Tech is... they're set up for a run in this tournament now, getting through the day the way that they did. I just feel like they're going to be here a long time. They're just too good at the plate. Drake, you saw that today with our guys. Now you got, hey, Nate Rombach, going into the Kansas series last weekend, had 0 hits in Big 12 play. None. Today, he's a triple shy of the cycle. He's just a completely different guy. You throw that kind of guy in with Drew Baker, Jace Young, Braxton Fulford, and some of these other guys, and it's tough to get Texas Tech out. But Baylor, it just didn't look like the same bunch.
Yeah. Jeff, along with that, I think one of the reasons why, from my perspective, I'm looking at Cam Cayley that goes out on the mound for Baylor, who's not your ideal starter, but COVID and injuries have you there with Cayley. In his last 26 innings, he's got a 1.40 ERA coming into today, had thrown well in his last 8 appearances against a guy in Mason Montgomery, a little more hit or miss. And not only that, Mason Montgomery's the same guy that took the loss on Sunday in Lubbock against Baylor. I mean, for me, it's okay. Baylor has seen Montgomery before. Cayley's throwing well. I didn't expect the starting pitching duel to go the way that it did.
I was wondering about Cayley because, like I said, those numbers are really good, and that's got to give you some confidence going into this thing. And one thing we've seen with Texas Tech, if they jump out early, it's really tough for anybody to come back on them. And today, Drew Baker says, okay, first at bat, I'm going to hit it 420 over the left field wall. And Baylor just didn't look like they were up to it. Their shoulders kind of dropped. The body language wasn't the way that it needed to be. I really think that first swing from Drew Baker just set all the tone. And then you're right on Montgomery. He is about as hit and miss as it comes. And I mean like either a thump or a thud, because, again, he struck out 12 at West Virginia, was the National Player of the Week from the Collegiate Baseball Foundation. And then he went through a third of an inning at K-State. So, I mean, that's about as broad as you can be from really good to really bad. And lately we've had more good than bad, but that's a great sign for the Red Raiders when you start thinking about what's coming up in regional play. Drake, the starting pitching for the Red Raiders, in the last 4 outings, 25 and 2/3 innings, not one earned run allowed. And then you combine that with this hitting 9, look out.
Jeff, with that, since Texas Tech lost to Baylor in Lubbock in that series for the first time since 2018, I mean, now look at a team that goes and beats Texas in a series, got OU on the road, Kansas at home, makes quick work of the Jayhawks after a Thursday loss. Texas Tech is clicking now, much more so it seems than they were that weekend against Baylor in Lubbock.
I think Baylor was a really good wake-up call because, again, my partner Jamie Lent went over the stats from that weekend, and Baylor dominated everything. A team ERA of 3.2 for Baylor. Texas Tech was in the 8s. The runners in scoring position was just a joke for the Red Raiders that weekend. Baylor easily could have swept the Red Raiders, took 2 of 3. Texas Tech gets that Braxton Fulford double into the corner, or it's a sweep for Baylor. But it feels like 2 teams going in opposite directions now. But that was a big wake-up call.
I tell you what, Baylor, I thought at least, Baylor would ride the momentum of that through Oklahoma State, through Oklahoma. They end up dropping both of those series, going 2-4. They're now 2-5 in their last 7. I want to ask you, Jeff, for a team like Baylor, they are fighting in this conference tournament. You've got squads across the country like an Arkansas or a Texas. They can win a few in their conference tournament, or they can lose out in 2. Not going to matter. They're going to be a national seed. For Baylor, they need to win to go to the postseason. How do you play this differently if you're Texas Tech or Baylor in comparison to just the juxtaposition of how you compete in this tournament?
I think Texas Tech is trying to leave Oklahoma City with it being a certainty that they're a top 8. That's the goal. Not necessarily hoisting up the hardware on Sunday, but it's leaving this park saying, okay, our body of work speaks for itself, and there's no way that you can leave us out of being in that top 8. Because when Texas Tech plays in Lubbock, they're just the home field advantage is just out of this world. And so they want that regional there, which they're going to get. They want that super regional there. And if you can get those 2 things, find yourself in Omaha again. You really can. So that's what they're trying to do. Baylor's trying to get into the dance. So, Drake, let's count out the teams that are in the NCAA tournament right now for the Big 12. Count them out.
Got Oklahoma State, I would say, is pretty squarely in right now. You've got TCU, Texas, Texas Tech, not a question. All 3 could be top 8 seeds. I think TCU is probably on the outside looking in, top 8-wise with their skid. But Texas Tech, I like their odds. I like Texas odds. And Oklahoma, Baylor are probably right there neck and neck. I think it's one or the other as I see it right now.
Oklahoma's not it. Unless they make a run and go to the championship, Oklahoma's not going to get in. I think Baylor's in this tournament. Even with a loss tomorrow, I think Baylor gets in the NCAA tournament. And the reason why is Coach Tadlock, and I'm going to tweet this later, and hopefully it'll get a little run. Coach Tadlock talked about the strength of this league and how you have to show up every time. Certainly Baylor's on that list because they won 2 or 3 in Lubbock. But it's the number 1 RPI league. Let's get it a little bit more respect. I think we need to start talking about our league in different terms. That is a tough league. I mean, you do have Kansas and West Virginia at the bottom, but you're always going to have somebody down there. And then the rest of the teams need to have a little bit more respect given. So when I think about that respect that's going to get given, I think that puts Baylor in the tournament.
Jeff, you talked about Kansas, West Virginia, but it's the same West Virginia team that snuck a couple from some folks so far this season, and a Kansas team that they just refuse to be swept. Kansas just can't be swept. TCU, they take a win. Tech, they take a win. Baylor, they take a win. When you look at the OU, they take a win. You full body work in the conference. How tough is it to sweep anyone in the Big 12?
Well, there have been very few sweeps. I think the most surprising sweep was TCU taking 3 from Oklahoma State in Fort Worth. The Cowboys were in every one of those games, especially should have won on Sunday. That really set Oklahoma State back some. But it is. I mean, Oklahoma took 2 of 3 from Oklahoma State. The Cowboys have a win over Vanderbilt. They've got wins. I think the RPI for Oklahoma State is at 16. So they don't have anything to worry about as far as getting into the NCAA tournament. What they're going to be doing right now is trying to avoid getting sent to an Arkansas or somebody like that. They're going to try to work their way into a better spot to maybe get into a 2 or a 3 at a weaker 1. I do think, what we've got on the line here is we're watching K-State. The Horned Frogs have a couple runners on here in the bottom of the first, so still 4-0 Cats. But, you're trying to get – if you're K-State, you're thinking, we got to go win this thing. If you're Oklahoma, you're thinking, we got to go win this thing, in West Virginia too. And here's the deal. I wouldn't put it past any of them, man. When it gets hot up here and you get deep into a week and you get some teams that are, hey, Texas, I mean, we're already in, no problem, right? This thing gets really interesting. I think that's off the top of the wall. Sorry, I'm a play-by-play guy, Drake. I do these things. It's 4-2 K-State now with a double for TCU.
Wow. Well, we're going back and forth across Big 12 play. I mean, these teams, again, it's baseball in general. Anybody can beat anybody. But Big 12, the volatility of the league this year. Jeff, from your perspective, I know you've been looking at these rankings pretty closely, right around where I have. When it comes to Texas Tech being in the conversation of the top 8, you got D1 baseball ranking that came out on the 23rd. It has Tech right now as the number 5 team in the country, pretty squarely in the conversation for hosting a super regional as well. And for us, we're looking at best case scenario for Baylor, whether it be to go to Starkville, to go to Stanford, Eugene, maybe East Carolina or Oxford. But then you're asking, say you get your Charlotte. Baylor goes to Charlotte. Well, then you get Arkansas on a super. If you are looking from Baylor's perspective, what is your ideal regional out of this top 10, 15 group of teams?
On that selection Monday, you just see your name. That's it. I mean, when you're on the bubble, it doesn't matter. I mean, you have to get there and then you have to get hot. And so Baylor's journey starts tomorrow against either K-State or TCU, and they've got to win to build some steam, to stay in this thing, to get the feel of postseason baseball, because this is a neutral place. It feels like a regional. It's hosted regionals. Stay here as long as you can. Get going as much as you can, and then it really doesn't matter. I mean, sure, you don't want to be sitting up there as the 3 in Fayetteville because Arkansas is so good, but you just need to find your way to the tournament and then see if you can get Thomas and these guys going, because they were not going today.
Jeff, I asked this to Mike Rooney, one of my last questions for you. I asked Mike, I said, look, if you're in a tournament play, which he'll be calling some of these Big 12 games later on this afternoon on TV, said, look, you're in Big 12 tournament play, any tournament play. Do you want a really strong pitching group that can get you through this week, or is it better to have hot bats that are putting up a lot of runs in these games? From your perspective, he said both on the front end and then fell with the batters. From your perspective, is it more key that Baylor's pitching staff comes alive or their bats are hot throughout this week?
Knowing what we know with some of the COVID stuff going on with the pitchers, I'm an American League guy and I'm a hit the ball guy. I couldn't stand pitchers. They're just a different breed, So I was a catcher. I was a third baseman. I was a DH. Let's get the bats going, man. And then, we don't have that south wind today, but I'm sure we're going to have it at some point. And so once you get that south wind, the ball starts jumping out to left field. You got to get the bats going. And if you don't have those, you don't have a chance. So that's the way I would hope, maybe Baylor can get something going in that direction, because they're going to have to get hot bats and then just, get as many guys out as you possibly can.
Well, I'm glad you said bats, considering the just how thin Baylor's pitching staff is going to be over the course of the rest of the week, but they should have most of those guys back if they are to make a regional. Jeff, my last question for you, I asked Pat Combs this same thing, and to flip it around to you, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, what is this week like for you? I mean, you get just a bunch of baseball going on for quite a few days there in Oklahoma City with a lot of, I'm sure, broadcasters that you know and people you know from the conference. What is the Big 12 Championship Tournament like for you?
Well, really, it's a dream for me, because I grew up watching this tournament at long before Baylor was in the Big 12. It was hosted at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds at the old 89er ballpark, and they had the Marlboro Man out in left field, and they had a berm the kids could run up and down on, and we would come up from Duncan, Oklahoma, where I was born, come up the H.E. Bailey Turnpike and watch OSU win it year after year after year. We were Oklahoma State people, and I'm an Oklahoma State grad. So now when I get to come here and just kind of absorb it all in a great ballpark, and it's a reunion for me because I get to come home. My family lives up the road in Edmond. I'm going to be sad to see it leave Oklahoma City. I know Arlington will have some great things, but Oklahoma City is the place for me on this deal. And everybody. It's when you miss out on a deal like 2019, it just sucks so bad. Now you get to, see everybody again. And I just had the worst hot dog I've ever had in my entire life, but it was at the Big 12 tournament, so it really doesn't matter. It's a great event, and I have 3 kids of my own. So one of them's little 2.5. So she's been wearing me out. Get a little break from some diapers. I did bring my oldest child up here, and she actually came to the game today. So it's a great time for me. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Wow. Surprised you got her up so early. I'm telling you, like, for me, I'm a college guy. Like, that is just waking up to get in front of a TV at 9 o'clock was enough for me. That feat in itself, congratulations.
I know. I couldn't believe she wanted to come. I was thrilled being a baseball dad, and she has really no interest in she's 13. I was like, you want to come to a 9 o'clock baseball game and not sleep in? School's just out. I was really happy about that. So she sat down with my father, and I got to look down and see them. That's a lot of fun, man.
Wow. Well, Jeff, before we get you out of here, our Bear Games question of the day today. This one's a bit more convoluted than I'm sure the last one we asked you. Given the following scenario, you get a duo of animals, woodland creatures that you can pick here to assist you. You're in the woods, camping trip, getting away from the family for a little bit, just kind of alone. You found yourself eye to eye with a grizzly bear and an aggressive elk in the Pacific Northwest. To your left, there's a mountain lion and a wild boar. To your right, a wolf, a crossbow, and a western pond turtle. Quick thinking, who do you enlist the help of to take down the bear and the elk?
Who's with the mountain lion?
With the mountain lion, you've got a wild boar. A razorback, if you will. As a native of Arkansas, we'll call it a razorback.
Okay. I'm going to be junk with a crossbow unless it's like some kind of automatic thing. I'm probably going, let's go mountain lion and wild boar / razorback. Those two can be really mean. Maybe they give me enough time to get up a tree or something, but then the bear comes after me. So there was a bear and what?
A bear and an aggressive elk. It's not your typical elk. This elk is pretty darn ornery.
I'm going mountain lion and boar, and let's go.
Boom. Hey, you chose correctly because the elk, albeit aggressive, can do nothing against the mountain lion. It is rendered defenseless. And the boar against the bear just can't. Low man wins. Low man wins. Boar takes down bear. You make it out alive. Congratulations, Jeff Haxton. You're broadcasting more games for Texas Tech.
That's great, man, because I'm telling you, that crossbow, I'm like, I'm going to find a way to mess that up. So give me those other two.
I love it. Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining the show today. Congrats on the win, and I'm sure you guys will keep marching through this tournament and the postseason in general. I mean, it's always fun to see a conference team that's not Texas win in something.
Agreed. We can certainly agree on that, Drake. Thanks, man. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. Again, Jeff Haxton, the voice of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. He has taken the mountain lion and the wild boar, and he's winning. And he's winning. Low man wins, baby. Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, and Marquise Cooley. 4-2. Kansas State on top of TCU right now, threatening to strike even further. When we come back, we're going to play Celebrity Birthdays in this day in sports history. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
And they're off. Baylor track and field will be represented by 12 athletes apiece in the NCAA West Regional Prelims today through Sunday in College Station. The top 12 finishers in each event will qualify for the NCAA Championships in Eugene, Oregon, with Baylor's Aaliyah Miller projected to finish first in the 800. The meet is live on the SEC Network. In tennis, Baylor's individuals in singles and doubles are both moving on as Adrian Boyton and the pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law both took victories in the Elite Eight yesterday. Boyton won via his third three-set match of singles play and has now played matches in 6 consecutive days. Baylor's doubles duo dug themselves from an early hole to defeat a pairing from Oklahoma State. This is just the second time in program history the Bears have players in the quarterfinals of both doubles and singles. Boyton kicks off against 10-time All-American William Blugberg at 11 today, while Franzen and Law meet the number 3 pairing in the nation at 5 p.m. this evening. In baseball, Baylor opened up postseason play against top 10 Texas Tech and Oklahoma City to start the Big 12 Baseball Championships at 9 this morning. The game can be seen on ESPNU, and you can follow along on the Baylor Baseball Twitter page for updates. Elsewhere across the country, ex-LSU quarterback TJ Finley is transferring to Auburn. Texas A&M receiver Cameron Buckley has announced he will transfer to Indiana after playing in 39 games during his Aggie career. And a committee has proposed that Michigan remove Fielding Yost's name from the ice arena on campus after it surfaced he refused to let a black football player play in the game in 1934. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Feels good. Baylor baseball lost. I get it. It's tough. It's tough. But it's a good day. It's a good day no matter what. Come on. The sun is shining. The birds and stuff. Come on. This day in sports history.
The tank is clean.
The tank is clean? What is that? Is that a reference?
Beautiful day. The sun is shining. The tank is clean.
The tank is clean! Wow. Little Finding Nemo reference.
That's you're welcome.
The way that you said the tank is clean was so spot on. The tank is clean. That's it. That needs to be in another comeback. When I make them, you got to remind me.
It does need to be. It absolutely needs to be the recording.
The tank is clean. The fact that that's the quote you remember.
You were saying it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. Tank is clean.
Oh man. Celebrity birthdays today. Scott Disick's birthday is today. Scott from the
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
No, Scott from that's Michael Cera.
That's true.
Scott from the Kardashians.
What?
Yeah, Scott. Scott's like the boyfriend husband thing.
40.
38.
38.
Did you know that?
No, I know who he is, but I completely guessed that.
Okay, good.
Stevie Nicks has a birthday today. How old's Stevie Nicks?
60.
65.
73. She's a little bit older. Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz have a birthday today. Guitarist.
65.
58.
57. John Wayne.
Dang.
John Wayne, who they named an airport after. He's the airport guy.
97.
Oh, no.
84.
114. Very dead.
Yeah, I knew he was dead.
Sally Ride would have been how old?
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I've never heard of that
The
person.
astronaut?
120.
155.
72. Gosh.
Well, I guess astronaut.
Yeah, she's an astronaut. So few people have been to space. Hank Williams Jr.
42.
Hank Williams Jr.?
I don't know.
Like 70?
72. Australian cricket fast bowler Fred Spofforth takes 7-34 and 7-3 against an England 11 in a tour match in Birmingham. Match over in just 4 hours. In just 4 hours?
Only 4 hours, baby. It's all it takes.
Guys. Oh, what year? 1884. I'm Drake Toll. We got Armstrong, Sims, Marquise, Cooley. Couldn't think of a year. There's a lot of them. There are a whole lot, and he couldn't think of one. When we come back tomorrow, we'll be joined by a bunch of folks talking about a bunch of things. NBA draft's coming up. So what are we going to have with old Jared Butler and Matthew Meyer? Well, let's find out tomorrow. Drake Toll, Armstrong, Sims, Marquise, Cooley. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Baylor baseball. We'll be back covering it. This has been Up Tempo.